My car go vroom, my maid got a broom. My house got a room for some rooms with a view. I'm driving real slow like I'm running on fumes. I'm driving real slow. I'm driving real slow like I'm running on fumes. I'm driving real slow. I'm driving real slow like I'm running.
Moving fast. Look at all this cash. Yeah, we riding slow. Gotta watch this one be passed.
Some money in the air like you really don't care. Oh yeah.
But that money moving fast.
Some money in the air like you really don't care. Oh
Yeah, we riding slow. Gotta watch this one be passed.
I just put your mortgage on my neck, and you looking teed off like a golfer. You upset? Why you mad? Why you mad? Tell him why you mad. If you need a loan, you should probably just ask. If you need to get it brown, I can send a bus pass. I be in my suite with a bottle must have. Top shelf, everything we elevated, and we just keep on pouring up. Man, I'm glad we made it. Feels so good to be so rich, ain't got.
What happens next is not my fault.
Where we at?
Nah. Are you farting haze?
Unprofessional.
These are insane.
And Brandon keep killing it.
What up, what up, what up? What's good, Creative Fam? Brandon Washington here, and we've got a breaking news story for y'all. Look, I'm not even gonna front with y'all. Today is going to be an insane day of news. As y'all know, the Sony FX5 is now officially live. I'm already refreshing over on YouTube. We got a lot of videos to get through. We got a lot of content to get through, but it is official. So if you're looking for your home for the FX5 news, this live stream is where it's at. Today, I'm going to be going live for a good while, and we're going to be going through a ton of different content. I mean, I'm looking right now. Rob Machado just dropped his video. Mackie just dropped his video. Obviously, Sony just dropped their video. And I got a little something special. We're going to be able to actually showcase all of these videos and watch them together live. So we're going to get a chance to hop in together and see what is what. Now, ultimately, I do want you guys to be hanging out with me today. So if you guys have any insight, any information, be sure to share it in the chat. Let me know right now, what are you guys most excited about? I see in the chat right now, Mark Bone also just dropped. As y'all know, 9 o'clock was the embargo time. So we're about to hop in. We're going to be watching a bunch of different videos. We're going to uncover what exactly is the FX5. We'll talk about it. I already put the poll in the chat right now. Are you talking or are you buying? I, like a lot of you guys, are probably going to get a little influence today. I'm gonna probably get a little influence today. So we're gonna go live. We're gonna watch a bunch of different videos. We're gonna get a chance to actually get a little influence. We're gonna decide what's actually important. You know, like let's be honest. There's no bag for me here. I've got no insight from Sony. Sony didn't send me the camera, but I'm gonna be able to tell you guys my actual opinions on this. So I'm really excited to be hanging out with you guys. I see in the chat already, y'all are throwing in some of your favorite features already. 5K, 120 frames per second. Sheesh. Is that real? Is that a real spec that's already been released on this thing? Maybe we go look at specs first, and then we hop into our favorite videos. What I want y'all to do for me real quick is let me know which creator do y'all want to see? Which creators' videos do y'all want to see first? We can definitely hop into those. But I definitely want to go in and see some of the specs on this camera. So this is going to be the most real world experience, live reaction to this news that I probably have ever done, because I genuinely have not seen the news yet. I have not seen the specs. I haven't seen anything. I'm going to be hopping in right now and looking at everything with you guys in real time. All right, you guys ready? Let's go ahead and hop into our first page here. All right, this is on B&H's website. Handheld Hollywood Sony FX5 cinema camera. It's real. The camera is here. It's official. And oh my God. Oh, why is that the first thing I see? $7,000? Oh, okay. Wait a minute. That's with the 24 to 72.8. That's not that bad. Okay. Hold on. I almost lost it. All right. Here are the prices. All right. We talked about this on Friday. Where were the prices really gonna sit? Well, we got our first one right here. Body only Sony FX5 cinema camera starts at $4,898. Honestly, that's way better than I thought. I told y'all I wanted it under $5. I wanted it under $5, and we're getting 4,900 body only for all the rumored specs. That's actually not terrible. That's not too far off from what we were hoping. We knew it wasn't gonna be no $4,000 like what Gerald was talking about, but $4,900 body only, sub 5,000. That's not bad. That's not terrible. Now, obviously, it looks like here there are a ton of different buying options. So we've got the body only for $4,900. For $45,000, we get the body plus the XLR top handle. And this top handle definitely has been it's been changed. It looks like there's a little bit more grip to it. It looks like it's a little bit taller. And they also have a thread on the back now, so that'll be great for mounting your monitors. So yeah, body only, or with the XLR top handle, not a terrible buy. Now, one thing I don't see here on this webpage is the EVF. That was rumored, and we're gonna actually go into it and see if we can find that one too. So let me go back. Let's go back to the main page. Okay, it looks like you can just buy the top handle itself for $800. That's not bad. Oh, and then here we go. Here's the EVF. EVF official pricing, $698. So just under $700. Not terrible. But what I will say is that my original thought, my process on this, it does seem to be true. It does look like, unfortunately, this EVF has no wiggle room to it. So it is not going to be like the FX2 that could actually, tilt up and down. Looks like we have a fixed EVF for the FX5, but it's only $700, which is a little bit cheaper than what we originally were thinking. So I think my theory was accurate, and that is the fact that I believe the leaked prices might have been a little bit higher. So that way we are, not as disappointed seeing these prices. Let me know in the chat right now, are these prices, like, are y'all thinking these are overpriced? Are these accurately priced? How are y'all feeling about the prices? Because I'm be honest with you, for me right now, it's not insane. It's high. It's expensive for sure, but it's not insane. These prices are not insane. So I think it's a pretty good move right here. I think they made the right choices with these price points. Let's see what other options they have coming in here. Oh, and it looks like they do have a Timecode cable. Let's see if they have any images of it. There's no images for it right now. But it looks like you will be able to get Timecode going in via USB-C. So there's a little attachment. So that'll be nice. So you won't have to actually just do Timecode via the 3.5. You'll actually be able to run Timecode via the USB-C with this little adapter. That's actually pretty good. I'm actually not that upset about that. Oh, I'm getting word that the viewfinder does move. So we'll take a look at that. Maybe that's in somebody's video. We're gonna hop into a couple videos here in just a moment. They're saying EVF goes up and down, shows it on Sony's site. Oh, okay, so I'm wrong here. So let's actually hop into, let's go to YouTube real quick. And I see, Rob released his video, Cam released his video. I want to go to Sony's video first. Before I go to the creator's video, I want to go to see if we can get Sony's official video first. Man, I told y'all, be ready. Because good Lord, everybody dropped their FX5 videos at the exact same time. But here we go. We got one from Sony Europe. Let's pop into this one. Oh, wait a minute. Is Sony premiering something right now?
Full menu screen. Accessibility. Screen reader. Setting. On.
Oh, this is on Sony's actual page right now. All right, so Sony just premiered their new product announcement. Let's actually go ahead and hop into the... Oh, they have more? Or they just have it on repeat? No. Okay. Okay, so it's pretty short. What is this? You got a little short film at the end. Okay, so they just premiered a video. So that video should be available on their site here in just a second. But I want to just get to the actual announcement video. Okay, so we got the Sony Alpha announcement video for the FX5. You guys ready to hop in and check this out? Let's see. Y'all are saying it's on Sony's website, live stream, watching a live stream. Yeah, no, we're reacting to all of the new FX5 information today. Oh my gosh. Mark says goodbye, Nikon. I don't think you believe that. I don't think you mean that. I don't think you mean that. Let's see. I don't know if we're going anywhere with Nikon, but let's hop into Sony's video. Bro, who shot this? Mackie? That's it. It is real. Cinematic look. All right, maybe we're going to get a couple different deals. Engineered to deliver authentic natural images. All right, so we got a 5K full frame, fully stacked CMOS image sensor. This is a fully stacked sensor. I only know of a bunch of partially stacked sensors. At this price point, a fully stacked sensor that is confirmed from the rumors. Also, this means faster readouts. Of course, it's Sony, so we got some AI processing designed to be aligned with the rest of the Venice system. Open gate. Sony finally opened up the gates, y'all. Oh man, that's so dope. All right, so this is the first look at the new menus. Also, the new 16-bit RAW codec. 16-bit RAW, y'all. Okay, so there it is. You guys are right. So it looks like the EVF actually does move up and down. I was wrong. It didn't look like it from the images that I saw, but yes, it looks like we do actually have an EVF that moves up and down, which probably definitely came in handy when doing this shoot, which was like, looks like out in like direct sunlight. "15 stops of latitude." We need Gerald Undone to come out of retirement to let us know. Give us the actual numbers here. Oh, here's that triple base ISO. So this might be the new low light king. Uh-oh, I heard he is. I heard he's out of retirement. Are y'all saying he's out of retirement for this one? Oh, he actually did come out of retirement. Let's go. Gerald Undone's video is already live. All right, we're gonna have to check that one out too. Oh, we are getting 5K up to 120 frames per second, 4K at up to 240 frames per second. Good night, y'all. I didn't believe that rumor, Spec. I'm not gonna lie to you. Somebody told me 5K 120. I didn't believe it. And then obviously we got really great low light performance and AI autofocusing performance coming out of the Sony. That's a no-brainer. That's a no-brainer. We knew that was coming. Auto tracing white balance. S-Anytone. Yeah, we expect that. We expect that at this point. S-Log 3. So now we got flexible ISO, and we also have the Cine ISO control designed for mobility. Yeah, the cameras look small, honestly. 5-axis in-body gimbal stabilization. I mean, the camera looks really, really small. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I think the camera looks really, really small, especially for what it is. They're saying we're getting better stabilization than even on the FX3. Uh-oh. What does this mean? Optical zoom versus electronic zoom. All right, so smooth priority mode. So this is something new. So clear image zoom allows seamless zoom from optical wide to 2x electronic telephoto. I wonder what this optical zoom mode, like range that they were talking about was though, because there's no information here on like what lens they were using, because they did an optical zoom and then they added the electronic on top of that. The FX5 is saying it's doing it all electronic. I'll be honest, the shot does look a little soft here. I mean, granted, I'm looking at it on YouTube, so the resolution is probably not the best, but you know, framing looks about the same. I just really wish they would have told us what lens they were using for this. Also, this music is giving me a massive headache. All right, so we got the XLR handle unit, XLR H2, enables more stable shooting, and it introduces 32-bit float recording. Oh, look, we can kind of see the new attachment there if you guys saw that. So there's the new attachment. So that's exactly how you're actually able to connect it. So it is a little bit different, but it looks like we do have that OLED EVF. Oh, that thing's probably super sharp. Nice swivel screen, 4-axis. This is actually a lot. Oh, wait, what? Did they say what size that is? That thing looks huge. 3.5 type, 16:9 aspect ratio. You got the big 6 menu that we saw on the FX3. We obviously got the new Cine Atlas series. So we've got some new shooting menus, which should make shooting video on this much, much easier. False color built in. All the monitoring tools we've been begging for on the FX3, we finally get them. We got some tally lights. New dial. Bro, this camera is looking fire. I'm not gonna lie. In the chat, where are we at in the chat? Are we talking or are we buying? Where are y'all at in the, oh, we got the new high performance battery. I did hear last minute rumors that we were gonna be getting that new battery. Let me know, what are y'all's thoughts on the new battery? Do y'all care? I mean, obviously you're buying a new camera anyway, so probably we're gonna need to get some new batteries, but let me know. Let me know what y'all thinking about the new batteries. Oh, so we do have a physical fan in there too. And now we have expandability, so I think we're gonna talk about some I/O. Of course, all of the Sony E-mount lenses. 7 threaded holes to be able to use. Oh, dual on the bottom. That's gonna be nice. Full-size HDMI. All the different optional accessories. Oh, there's that timecode cable. And then, of course, we have the control app that Sony came out with earlier. I think maybe at the end of last year, but definitely came out in the last year or so. And then all their environmental stuff. All right, pretty solid first video. I feel like now that I have Sony's marketing play, because we all know Sony's marketing play is they're going to tell us what they want us to know. Now it's time to learn from some of the other folks who actually got their hands on it, some creators who actually went out and shot with it. So let me know in the chat, whose video do y'all want to see first? Are we going to go see Cam Mackie's video? Are we going to go see Kofi's video? Because I'm sure everybody dropped their video. Gerald Undone's video's out. Mark Bones' video's out. Ooh, Mark Bones' video is only 5 minutes. I kind of dig that a lot, actually. Oh, there is Gerald Undone's video. This man did come out of retirement for this video. 15 minutes. I'd expect nothing less. All right, let's see. Who are y'all saying in the chat right now? I'm getting, let's see. Mark Bone, Kofi, Cam, another one for Mark Bone. I see one for Gerald Undone, CVP. CVP always does a really good job. Another one for Gerald. No built-in NDs. I don't see them, brother. I don't think we're gonna have there's no built-in NDs on these. I see another one for Mark Bone. I see another one for Cam Mackie. I see another one for Cam. All right, let's I see a couple for Cam Mackie. All right, so here's what we'll do. We're gonna do Mark Bone's first because his is short, and then we'll go find Cam Mackie's right afterwards. All right, let's see what Mark Bone cooked up for us on this. Ooh. Oh yeah, this is about to be cinema, y'all. I can already tell. This is about to be cinema. If y'all don't see it, we're about to get a cinematic masterpiece here. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger. Yeah, let's make this a little bit bigger. Boom. All right, let's get into this Mark Bone cinematic masterpiece.
If you have too many preconceptions about what you're going to do, you'll just be chasing that. And the great thing about when you're a bit more open-minded is the world will start giving you ideas.
Holy crap. Okay, hold on. I'm going to just say this off rip. I don't know who Sony is hiring to do their marketing. Call Mark Bone. Because in the first, 30 seconds into this? Bro. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? So, yeah, Tyrese said it. Mark really is that guy. This is insane work. Let's go. I'm hype already. This makes me want to buy the camera. Sony's video didn't make me want to buy the camera. I already want to buy the camera.
You don't need to worry anymore about getting permission to make a movie. Just go get a camera and shoot a film.
Gosh, look at that dynamic range, y'all.
There's nothing stopping you. Filmmakers should be allowed to do anything they want. So things like the FX5 sort of break down the barriers to who's allowed to make a film and how good it can look.
Oh my gosh. This is insane because most of what we're looking
Places
at
like
is
Nepal
the BTS,
and Cambodia
and
just deliver on, like, it's on the filmmaker if you can't get good shot. Being able to go into these places and blend in and not look.
Wait. Is this the guy who shot Creator? Is this the director who shot Creator? Am I tripping? Like, I only saw him in a few of the BTS stuff, but is this not him?
Like a massive film crew just means you can now get even more naturalistic behavior from
these
people.
Locations are insane.
They want to be in it? And that's what this experiment was, really. It was like, can we just turn up, no real conversation, and just start trying to create stuff that looks really nice? It felt like we weren't really...
What did I tell y'all? Thank y'all in the chat for letting me know. Yes, that is him. What did I tell y'all? I said, if the FX5 is going to move mountains, they're going to need a creator level, like the movie, creator level marketing push. What better way to do it than to go and get the freaking guy who shot Creator on the FX3, put an FX5 in his hand, and then you psychopaths over at Sony also put one of them in the hands of Mark Bone himself and was like, go document his amazing experience. This is cheating. I'm going to say it up front. This is cheating. Oh, ALD is in the chat. What's up, everybody over at ALD? Yeah. Oh, man. This is, Sony, this is next level cheating. This is next level cheating, but I'm here for it. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm here for it.
Compromising. It's just now going to be about the storytelling and about the ideas and the talent of the filmmakers.
I feel like it's going to be better in that direction.
Basically doing a camera test, really. And so I ended up revisiting a lot of the locations we did on the Creator where I used the FX3.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
And this being the new FX5, it was like, okay, let's see how it compares.
Oh my gosh, these shots are freaking gorgeous.
The FX5, I think, is the highest quality camera in the world for how small it is. Which sets this apart from previous cameras is that it's all internal, which makes the camera lightweight, which means it can now fit on a gimbal without crazy paraphernalia or an extra battery, and suddenly you can hold this thing all day long. You don't have to have a plan, you just have to see an opportunity when it turns up. There's an internal Wi-Fi that's sending the signal for the video, so it's just very low maintenance.
Bro, yo, he is in the middle of, like, basically, like, from a filmmaking standpoint, he's in, like, the middle of nowhere. He's just got his camera, his phone, and a gimbal, and he is creating straight cinema. And I have not seen a single, what looks to be an artificial light anywhere. Like, these are insane images, for sure. Like, gosh.
Went from like boiling hot 35 degrees to -5 it's going to be.
Pretty strong, right?
It's strange to be back. I think last time I left I felt like probably never come back here. I'm really excited about the future. I'm excited about what new filmmakers are going to do with this technology. You're no longer compromising the look to do something very small. You can get such beautiful imagery so simply.
All right, so just in case you can't pick that up on the screen, everything right now is being shot on the FX5, resolution 5K, open gate 3.2. Obviously, they're using anamorphic lenses, taking full advantage of that 3.2 open gate on those anamorphic lenses. S-Log 3, ISO 800. My God. I see y'all in the chat talking about, you know, Gerald, pick your head up. Bro. I'm not saying every other brand is cooked, but every other brand is on notice. I'm just saying that. They're not cooked, but it's getting hot.
I'm never as happy as when I've walked into somewhere and I've let the ingredients tell me what they should be. And then suddenly something starts happening that you would never have thought of. And as you pick up the pieces and try and reform it, it now becomes something no one's seen before.
Bro, this is so crazy. Yo. Hey, real quick, shout out to Mark Bone in the chat.
CVP.
Hold on, CBP. Shout out to Mark Bone in the chat. W's in the chat for Mark Bone. I don't know if he's watching right now, but I'm sure he'll tap in later on. But man, Mark Bone, my dog. My dog. Fantastic work. Fantastic work. I mean, I mean, now here's probably my favorite thing about, you know, about the entire deal. Like, these are the type of reviews that I personally really like, because You just let the gear show what it can do and talk about the experience that you can have with it. Because like, let's be honest, like we didn't really hear them talk about specs hardly at all. Like there was almost no spec talk in that video. It was literally just showcasing what the camera could do, where you could take the camera, how you could rig it up, and then just showing the shots that it could get. I mean, by far, one of the best camera review type videos I've ever seen. Mark Bone in the chat underneath the Art of Documentary, he says, appreciate you viewing the film. Dude, of course. I mean, the work speaks for itself. The work speaks for itself. Absolutely amazing. Like amazing work. Hands down, one of the best ones I've seen so far. So congratulations, Mark Bone. Much love to you in the chat. W's are in the chat right now for you. All love in the chat for you right now. Yeah, it's tough. I see y'all in the chat. They say Gerald just announced he's quitting the show. Gerald's not quitting the show, but we know the Sony shooters are about to get loud. We already knew that though. We already knew that the Sony shooters were going to be loud. That was a given. Sony needed a win. Right now, it's looking like they winning. They say 4K 240 as well. Insane. Let's see. What'd he say? Super Chat came in. He says, what's the top cap front for the hot shoe E&D filter hole? No. So that little top area is actually the connection port to where, well, at least what it looks like so far. Looks like that's where you actually connect the XLR as well as the EBF. So yeah, so no E&D, no built-in NDs, because trust me, that would have been a huge proponent of the actual videos that we've seen so far. Now, I know Cam Mackie said don't watch his video, but we're definitely going to be watching Cam Mackie's video. CVP released CVP's video is an hour long. My God. Maybe when I'm actually ready to buy. That is a long video. Let's look up Cam Mackie real quick. All right, we got Cam Mackie's video is 30 minutes. Y'all are killing me with these long videos, y'all. Y'all are killing me with these long videos. All right, Cam, I'm gonna watch your video like I would normally watch any other video on YouTube. I'm gonna skim through it because I'm trying to get all this information in. And yeah, Brandon says this Friday's show is gonna be insane. So I'm gonna try my best, which is I've already done a terrible job at this, and be fully transparent. I'm gonna try my best to reserve my judgment until I've had enough time to actually digest all of this. All right. So what you guys are experiencing right now is my live, raw reaction to all of the videos. This is how I typically discover new cameras. Like I did earlier, I go to B&H's website or I go to a sales website. I like to read the specs for myself first, just so I have that base information. Then I go see what does the brand say that this camera is. So I go look at their marketing and blah, 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 blah. And then I go watch some of my favorite creators and see what they are saying about it. Some of the people that I truly trust, or some of the people that I think will best represent what I'm looking for as far as the knowledge is concerned. Now, some of y'all right now are saying, go do Gerald. Cam, I know you told me not to even watch yours, especially after Mark Bones. So chat, y'all let me know right now. Just comment Gerald in the chat right now if you want me to just go straight to Gerald's video. We can watch his, because obviously he's got something to say if the man came out of retirement for this one. We can obviously go back to Cam Mackie's video as well. So y'all just let me know. I see more Cam Mackie's popping in the chat. So Cam, unfortunately, we're gonna watch your video first. We're gonna watch Cam Mackie's video and then we'll do Gerald Undone's video. They said at least 5 minutes of Cam's video. All right, we're gonna hop into Cam's video and see what he cooked up for us. Hold up. Cam out here in the desert already. All right, we need to do Cam's. And then let me make one minor adjustment here. I'm gonna switch to my computer view here. And then let me do one thing real quick because I do want to make sure that y'all can see y'all's chats on screen. So I'm gonna just hide that real quick. Oops, that's the wrong one. Bring myself back. All right, let me do this. Let's hide this real quick. And then we're going to grab the chat. We're just going to pull it down. And then that way I can pull that back up. Boom. And now we still got chats on screen. All right. So this way y'all can still add your chats in and we can make that part of the stream. All right. We're going to go full screen with this. You guys ready? It's Cam Mackie, y'all. So y'all already know we're in the desert. We're in the desert, and Cam, he's a talented filmmaker, so we already know it's going to be crispy. But let's go ahead and hop into this is Cam Mackie's FX5 review video.
Petrichor. When the smell of rain hits the earth and opens up a black hole of time, taking you back to when you were just a kid. When we weren't scared to stand in the rain.
Bro,
there's not really a word to describe the creator's responsibility of exploring their curiosity. But I think that feeling of petrichor comes pretty damn close.
Wow. Cinema, y'all.
So guys, Sony finally gave us everything we wanted. It just doesn't really work at the same time together, but it's all in there. It just doesn't, there's no glue.
Whoa, hold on. All right, see, this is why I like Cam's videos. Because Cam is gonna shoot it straight. He's gonna show us some stuff. He's gonna be like, look, you can make some dope images out of this. But he's already saying, it's all in there. It just all doesn't work at the same time. They're missing the glue. This is honestly why I like Cam's videos. Is he's one of the few people I think on YouTube who is like, one, obviously he doesn't care if he breaks the freaking camera. He's already got the camera out in the elements. So, if you wanted to know if this camera had some water resistance, it's on there. And he's also gonna let us know what's going on. So let's see what Cam has to say about the rest of the camera, because I am interested.
This setup here, this is a dream.
All right, somebody said his colors are always good, nothing special. I don't think just because somebody is known for being really good at what they do that you should take that away from them. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he's good at what he does, which is one of the reasons why I always tell people, like, hey, just because somebody else is really good at using that tool doesn't mean you gonna get the same results. You better have those same skill sets. But I ain't gonna take that away from him, bro. His work speaks for itself.
An autofocus anamorphic lens on this little tiny cinema body with actual cinema tools finally, straight out of the box. Insane. Battery life's kind of garbage on this, but it charges up fast through the USB-C. For this being the first day with it, I'm buying this camera, like no doubt. But
all right, I'm not gonna lie to you, Cam. I love you, bro, but when you say you're gonna buy a camera, that don't mean nothing. You buy every camera. So tell me if I should buy the camera. Cause Cam Mackie gonna buy every freaking camera. Like, let's not even front.
You better believe I'm going to be the most annoying person to Sony. They need to give us the full feature set of tools and let them be glued together in this whole anamorphic ecosystem. So guys, there's been multiple times on the shoot where Gerald and I are trying to go through the camera, mostly Jericho, trying to go through the camera, and we're like, how come the autofocus isn't working? It's when D-stretch is on. So it's more of an issue than a feature at this point from how annoying it's been. Even though I have a lot of gripes with this FX5 for anamorphic, outside of that, it's pretty freaking great. You guys can see we have...
Okay, so, obviously for someone like Cam Mackie, this is probably a pretty big deal. But as y'all know, the FX5 and like the Burano and even the FX3 now support de-stretched in camera. But it appears that it does not... it doesn't actually allow you to keep the autofocus, which is kind of an issue because all these autofocusing anamorphic lenses are coming out. And so you want that full anamorphic support. And so I guess Sony is taking that away at this point. I don't really understand why. Maybe it's a processing issue. Hopefully it's just a software deal. But yeah, hopefully we get that. Cam Mackie says in the chat, skip to 445 and 1813 if you want the juice. All right, so we're I'm gonna keep. I want to see what else he has to say here, and then we'll jump ahead to 445 and 830.
Waveforms on here. We have false color that doesn't work during record, which is kind of annoying. I just missed a damn lightning strike, but you can see we have false color on there.
That's another one. See, these are the things. This is why I like watching reviews like this, is because like all the little nuance, like annoyances. People who shoot with it, and they're going to be able to let us know. So like, as he just showed, while you're recording, you can't toggle on false color. A little bit of an annoyance, but I mean, at least he's letting us know that. That's some important information. Let's go ahead and jump to, what do you say, 445?
Outside of the storm, because we need to shoot the storm. We don't want to be inside of the storm.
Bro, these shots look so good.
This is kind of the perfect weather, I think, for this test that I'm doing. I'm using a Tiffin sepia filter. Usually I love the tobacco filter. I've been using warming filters for color films for maybe 15, 20 years ago, something like that. I'm UNC status. I haven't done it in a while though. I brought the Noc Deluxe out with Noc Deluxe 35.
Only Cam Mackie would have me watching an FX5 video and then halfway through it, turn it into a freaking Leica video. Like, bro, I'm here for the FX5. What are you doing? What are we doing? I mean, the footage looks great, don't get me wrong. I'm here for the FX5. I know your Leica is great. That's such a Leica photo right there. Let's take a picture of an abandoned living room. You are full on Leica status. Talk to me about the camera, dog.
HU film. What is that? You guys know what Cine Still is? So Cine Still 800T. Absolutely, I think it's everybody's kind of like little wild card favorite. It's tungsten balance, so your whole exposure goes blue. But there's all the halations. Personally, I don't like the halations myself. They're usually pretty distracting. The AHU, it removes all the stuff that say, if you're digging how this looks, it was all color grade with my Rambler LUTs. I'll put a link in the description if you want to check them out.
Bro, you using me to push your LUTs.
But I waited a second. Oh! You that one?
Let's see how lucky I can get. I'm pretty sure I got that.
I think you might have.
I'm pretty sure I got that.
All right, I'm skipping here because I know
and this camera will not help you do that. You should be able to do that with any camera. That's what will turn into real work. If you don't know who I am, I've been doing commercial work for almost YouTube now. Sony FX5. I'm currently filming on the Sony a7 IV with the DZO Arcana 45mm. I have no idea if I'm in focus or not. You know, that's manual focus. I don't think I am, but whatever. You know, the biggest standouts to me is the internal RAW. With the whole video that you guys have been watching, we shot in the most compressed RAW Kodak. That's the C2 compression. Currently, the OpenGate is only available in the RAW formats, but down the road, probably like a year from now, there's supposed to be a firmware update, 240 frames per second.
All right, listen, I'm gonna give you a little bit of a little game right here. All right, when these companies tell you, hey, the camera does this, but in the future we're gonna do a software update that's gonna give you whatever, don't buy the camera for the software update. Buy the camera for exactly what it does right now. I know. I love y'all Nikon, but like, where is my software update? So if y'all don't want to just shoot open gate in the RAW, which is what Cam Mackie's saying that the camera could do, then this ain't the camera for you. But if you're okay just shooting it in the RAW, then, then you're good. But good night. Come on.
Second and 4K, and also give us open gate in H.265. Honestly though, I'm not gonna worry about that because check this out. Again, these are 16:9. H.265 long GOP. It's around 115 megabits per second. And H.265 all I is 263 megabits per second. And RAW C2, the most compressed RAW, is 356 megabits per second. So the most compressed RAW format is almost the same size as all I H.265. And now some of you guys may
that's actually super impressive. I will tell you, like, my number one gripe right now with my ZR is the lack of compression in the red RAW. I love the red RAW. I love red RAW. I love that color science, especially the log 310. Like, by far my favorite, but come on. This compression is actually really nice.
be thinking, oh, well, does that RAW look good? Is it 12-bit? Is it this or that? It looks really damn good. When I started to color grade the footage, I was hooked. Obviously there's the Nikon ZR. The red RAW is great on there, but the file sizes are almost 4 times larger than what they are.
What was I just saying?
In the compressed RAW codecs in the FX5. On this, no matter how far I stretched it, there was color information in the blacks and in the whites and the shadows and the highlights, to the point where, some of the footage in...
Well, actually, that, like, don't get me wrong, Cam, you do a great job.
The file sizes are almost 4 times larger than what they are in the compressed RAW codecs in the FX5.
There's even more detail in those
no matter
highlights.
how far I stretched
like, I mean,
there was color.
Don't get me wrong. Like, look at those highlights. Like, don't get me wrong. There's detail in those, right? Like, he kept some of it. But then look at it.
In the blacks and in the whites and the shadows.
There was even more. Gosh. That.
And the highlights, to the point where, some of the footage in this video looks almost HDR, because I try to stretch the image as much as possible. I try to ride that edge of HDR, but still looking natural. So if you're watching on a larger screen, it might look better, but on a smaller screen, you might see a little bit more edging that territory of HDR. But again, that's all in the most compressed RAW codec on this. This is the big thing for me, because now we have this super compact camera with internal RAW in it, and it's full frame. It's insane. And for everybody who's about to complain, oh, but it doesn't have NDs, why does it have NDs? This is not supposed to be the FX2 replacement. This is not supposed to be a camera above the FX2. This is supposed to come right below the FX and right above the FX3. Now, some of you guys know I have relationships with pretty much every camera brand. I am brand agnostic. I own multiple different cameras and different lens mounts, sadly. And for what I'm hearing is internal ND technology is still not quite ready in this compact form factor. If they're to do it, the cameras have to be larger. Now, obviously, everything that I griped in the whole video about was the anamorphic support. Sony's most likely gonna say,
somebody said, man, you watched this video already before it dropped. So I haven't seen this video, but it is funny. Me and Cam do talk a lot. So I feel like a lot of the stuff that we talk about naturally makes its way into videos. All right, I'm gonna skip to the end and see if he has like any final thoughts. But y'all know, Cam Mackie is a lot like me. We share the ADHD bug, so he might be all over the place.
The fact that the C2 RAW, the file size is that small. You guys know I absolutely love color grading. It is a huge part to the world building I do, especially when I'm making a YouTube video and we don't have a whole lot of resources to make it look like a proper movie. And so I kind of have to rely on saving as much information in the file as possible for later so I can try to spice it up. You know, H.265, you can do that and it looks just fine. But when you have RAW, it literally, like the RAW in this FX5, it literally is so close to the RAW in a still image. And you guys know, if you're in Lightroom or Capture One, you could create windows and do these AI masks and everything and just pull so much information out. That's what this feels like. The only other camera.
I gotta say, I mean, full transparency, I love RAW shooting. Like, it's the reason why I went to Red as early as I did, was because Red was one of the few people who had a compressed, obviously because of the patent or whatever, but they had a compressed, workable RAW that you could get at different compression ratios, and you could get 16-bit and you could get the most out of it. I got to be very transparent with y'all. Full, like no cap. This RAW has me very excited right now. It's probably one of the first. I don't know what the workflow looks like yet, so I need to go figure out what that part looks like, because Red's workflow was actually super easy, but I don't know what that workflow looks like. But as I'm sitting here right now, this is looking good. I ain't gonna lie. I know today's Sony day, and everybody, everybody's gonna have their opinions. All the Sony haters are definitely in the chat, and that's okay. I'm with you. I'll after I come down from experiencing all this Sony propaganda, I might be on board with y'all on Friday. But for right now, Sony's looking good. The propaganda is propagandaing. You know what I mean? Like, it's working. It's working right now. So shout out to Cam Mackie for his amazing video. Thank you so much, Burano. W's in the chat for Cam Mackie. Another amazing video as well. W's in the chat for Cam Mackie. Much love to you, bro. Great job on your video as well. Also, thank you for being real in your actual comments, telling us exactly how it is with the actual camera. So shout out to you there. All right, let's go ahead and hop into Gerald Undone. This man came out of retirement to make this video. I actually didn't know if he was going to make a video, but we know Gerald Undone is like, he loves Sony. He loves Sony, you know? He loves Sony. So let's, I got his video pulled up right here. We can definitely hop in and take a look at Gerald Undone's video, see what his take was on this camera. Y'all let me know in the chat what y'all are thinking about this camera. And let me know right now if y'all think, if y'all are excited. If y'all are excited, is it working? Is it working? But I will say, I do like his new setup. I didn't know Gerald played guitar like that. I didn't even know he was into guitar like that. Learning new things every day. All right, let's go ahead and hop into Gerald's video.
Well, hello there. It's been a while. Welcome to my new set. Well, this isn't exactly a set, but I put that camera, which isn't normally there, in the same spot that the camera was before when this was a set, so you could see how the space transformed. But now it's just a spot that I like hanging out in, and I do have a couple cameras over here in case I want to live stream or whatever, which of course begs the question, Gerald, I thought you were retired. Why are you talking about cameras again? Well, I am retired. This is kind of the last chapter of my camera review period, because this camera...
We already knew Gerald wasn't going to be able to... Oh, man, they doing yard work outside. We already knew Gerald wasn't going to not be able to release an FX5 video, right? Like we all knew this was coming. Everybody knew this was coming, right? But all right, let's hop into it. Let's hop into it.
Camera, or rather, the Sony FX3 Mark II was a long-awaited, much-anticipated camera, as well as Sony's camera that's going to have internal RAW and open gate and the successor to FX3 and all that stuff. We've been talking about it for a year, and after the release of the A7R6, which I didn't post a video on my channel, but I did do a collab with Mark Bennett, if you want to check that out. I did have the camera and I did test it. I was kind of waiting for this camera to sort of close the book, the final chapter on this sort of generation of Sony cameras. Now, I'm not going to do a thorough review. I'm just going to share the results from the test that I wanted to do based on what piqued my curiosity.
Wait, okay, chat, because we all know Gerald Undone had some spicy takes on OpenGate. Does he stand 10 toes down that OpenGate is unnecessary? Will he say that in the review? Y'all let me know right now in the chat. Will Gerald Undone Obviously, he's going to show open gate. You can't talk about this camera without talking about the open gate. But will he stand 10 toes down and state that the open gate is unnecessary, or will he welcome it as a new addition? Let me know your thoughts right now in the comments. I want to know. I think he's going to welcome it. I think he's going to see the errors of his ways. He's going to talk about how great open gate was and how he was wrong his whole entire life. That's my thought, but we'll see.
I'll leave the rest of this stuff to the other reviewers. And of course, this also gives me an opportunity to talk about Storyblocks, the sponsor of today's video. Now, the
Stop using my platform to sponsor
reason
other
I brought
things.
up the A7R6 and why I was curious to make this video in the first place is that the sensor, to a certain extent, on the A7R6 is actually the same one in the FX.
Yeah, if you've already watched the video, no spoilers.
FX5. And I don't think this will be obvious to most people because the FX5 is marketed as a 5K video camera, and this is a, whatever it is, 60-something megapixel photo camera. But if you take the resolution of the A7R6, the horizontal and vertical resolution, and you divide both by exactly 2, you get the exact same resolution of this camera. And when you shoot in the 4K video modes of this camera, it's oversampled and read out from that 5K resolution. Again, the one that's divided by like a 2x2 combination, which means the 4K video on this camera is extracted from the exact same sensor resolution and plane and everything as this camera. Now, there were some differences, which I was pleased to see, which means this isn't just an A7S3 to FX3 type of thing where you go, well, that's pretty much the same camera, but this one doesn't have a viewfinder, until multiple firmware updates later where the FX3 kind of carved itself out to be a little bit different. This one, right off the bat, this one is definitely more video focused. It has internal RAW, it has open gate recording, and also the method at which they've taken this sensor from the A7R6.
Look, what do we say? Sony is in the business of reduce, reuse, recycle. Thank you, Gerald Undone. So now when I say it's the same sensor, y'all can get mad at Gerald Undone. That's where I got my information from.
And put it in this body. They did it in a way that allowed for more bandwidth, a more robust connection, and it allowed for actually slightly faster read speeds, which are going to be important when this thing ultimately gets its 4K 240 firmware update sometime in the future. It needed to be just that little bit faster. So this is kind of like an overclocked A7R6 in a way. And then they've also changed how the dual native ISOs interact, where on the A7R6, I think it was like 800 and 5,000. On this one, they did the 800 and 12,800 that people probably would have expected to shoot alongside their FX3. But then they also put in a third one, similar to the A7R6 at 4,000 to give you a little bit of a middle cleanup rather than having to go all the way from 800 to 12,800 to improve your image. But let's get...
I think Sony shooters are really going to appreciate having that midway point, because I know so many Sony shooters who would shoot at 12,800 and just live with their camera on a variable ND at all times. I'm talking we would be like indoors shooting and they would do the exact same thing. So I think it is nice that they put in that middle ground ISO. So now you have that triple base ISO.
Into the rolling shutter and dynamic range results so I can show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so we'll start with the FX5 in the 4K 16:9 full frame mode. Now this one is read from the 5K full frame aspect of the sensor, which means it's full width, but that 5K again is derived from a greater resolution, the 60 whatever megapixels of the A7R6. So it's kind of like a 2x2 pixel binning thing down to the 5K, then oversampled down to the 4K. And doing this, we get 5.7 milliseconds, which is a little bit faster than the 7 milliseconds or whatever we got in the A7R6. Again, consider it kind of over-cranked compared to that camera. And it can do this because, again, of the better bandwidth and of the internal fan, the active cooling on this camera. And just like on the A7R6, you can turn on dual gain in certain modes. And when doing that, the read speed jumps up to 14.2 milliseconds, which is basically reading the sensor twice, merging a high gain and a low gain mode to improve dynamic range and noise performance, which again, slightly faster than I think it was like 15 or 16 milliseconds on the A7R6. Now the A7R6 was already great to get 15 milliseconds in a dual gain mode. So this is even better that it's scoring 14.2. But of course, this camera now has an open gate mode, which is the full 3x2 aspect ratio of the sensor. And in that mode, with dual gain, because you can do both open gate and dual gain in internal RAW, you get 18.4 milliseconds. So this is the slowest this sensor gets, 18.4 milliseconds with everything maxed out. But then if you turn off dual gain and you shoot just the 5K open gate, it's 8.5 milliseconds, which is really, really, really good for an open gate internal RAW mode to be able to do.
So I think you're going to need to make sure, especially if you're planning on picking up this camera, because like it looks like you do have a slow open gate mode, you know, but then you have one that actually works really fast. And I think 8.5 is actually really sick. I think that's going to be, I mean, no one's going to have an issue with that. The 18, you're going to want to be careful, but I think you'll be fine.
In 8.5 milliseconds. It's pretty solid. Now, before we move on to the dynamic range results, I want to take a quick minute to thank Storyblocks for sponsoring this.
No, sir, we will not be doing that.
Use a chart called the Xyla 21, which has patches of light that descend in intensity that you can film, and then you take those results and you put it through a program called Imatest. Along the top of most of these charts, you'll see what I recorded. So for this first example here, it's the FX5 shooting an XOCN, so that's the internal RAW, in 5K open gate at ISO 800, which is the lowest base ISO, with noise reduction turned off. That's a cool thing, by the way. You can turn noise reduction off on this camera, something that most, FX3 type cameras don't have. And then over here you have slope-based DR, which is the total stops dynamic range of the detected, which in this case is 14. And
all right, so this is what we're getting. This is his actual, so these are the actual numbers. It looks like you are getting 14 stops of dynamic range based off the Gerald Undone chart, which, I mean, granted, I will say Gerald Undone does always seem to be a little bit nicer to Sony cameras in general, but his tests do always seem to be very honest. And so
the numbers below that are noise tolerances. So if you look at the medium, for example, that would be a signal noise ratio of 2, and in that case we get 11.5 stops. This is a good number to compare of how many good clean stops we have. Now, if we put the noise reduction back on to its default medium setting, we still get the 14 total stops, but the medium score jumps up to 11.9. That gives you an idea of how much the sort of default noise reduction at ISO 800 is doing. But if we put it in dual gain mode, the slope-based DR stays around the same, 14.2, but the medium score jumps up to 14, which means now we're getting 14.
Okay, so if you're in dual gain mode, it looks like you are going to get more stops or more usable stops with dynamic range. But again, in dual gain mode is when we also lost a little bit of our readout speeds. So, going to be something that you want to definitely take
clean, usable stops when dual gain mode is enabled with the noise reduction on medium. And even if we turn noise reduction off in the dual gain 5K open gate XOCN mode, we still keep 13.9 stops on the medium. And then I took it off RAW and put in the XAVC-SI, which is the all intra codec, again in 4K, ISO 800 with noise reduction on medium. And we got 14.9 stops total with 12.8 clean stops. And this is usually what happens when you compare RAW to a non-RAW codec, because RAW is generally noisier than a non-RAW mode. And in this...
Well, that's the one thing you got to know about RAW in general. Is like, obviously when you're shooting RAW, you should be getting almost no processing from the actual camera itself. I mean, obviously there is compression, but you shouldn't be getting any of that. So, I mean, I personally love the noise that comes off of a RAW sensor when you get that raw data. It doesn't actually really look that bad, honestly. And normally when because you're going to be shooting in log, when you go to color correct and you start, bringing down your black values, most of that noise disappears.
Case, we're seeing results similar to what we would see on, like an FX3 or an alpha camera, where you can't shoot raw and you don't have control over noise reduction. You would see something like this, like 15 stops with high 12s on the medium. But then I bumped it up to ISO 12,800 so we could see how that top third base ISO performs. And we got really good results, 14.6 and 12.7. So hardly any dip in the medium score going from ISO 800 to ISO 12,800. And then I thought it'd be good to test the FX3 at the same time to compare how its ISO 12,800 performs, because I assume a lot of people want to know, how's the low light compared to my FX3? And the answer is the FX5 is better. The FX3 got a 12.3.
Okay, this is what we expected though, right? Like, wouldn't you be pissed if the FX5 wasn't better than the FX3?
So 12,800 from 14.2 stops total, where the FX5 got 12.7. So at 12,800, the low light performance is actually better on the FX5 than it is on the FX3. And lastly, if we shoot dual gain mode at ISO 800 with noise reduction on medium in the all intra 4K mode, we get 14.7 stops total with 14 stops on the medium. Now, next up, I want to talk a little bit about color and image quality. Now, this is the part of the video where I usually promote my own LUTs. And I'm going to do that in this video as well, because both FX5 and the FX3. Now, if you've already bought my LUTs, you're going to get an upgrade for all of these, and the FX5 one will get sent to you for free. But if you're just buying the LUTs now, the FX5 will be included in that pack. What they offer base LUT, if you're mixing between Sony cameras or even cameras from other systems that I offer LUTs for, they should all match quite well compared to what they would with the manufacturer's LUTs. Anyway, link in the description. Gerald and color is different, but if you look at these two images, it's pretty much identical between the A7R6 and the FX5, which means the FX5 falls more in line with the latest color ideas that Sony's had and is a little bit different than what the FX3 would have if you're coming from an FX3, in which case something like my LUTs would be handy for matching them. But if you want to see on a vector scope what the FX3 versus FX5 looks like, here's the differences between them. And you can see that if I switch over to the A7R6, produce pretty much the same image as they should, like I said, since they're using the same sort of base layer of the sensor. And if we go into a detail shot here, you can see what I mean. When I compare the A7R6 to the FX5.
What? Hold on, I paused it so that way we can take a look at it.
We're getting pretty much the same amount of detail in the same image, again, as we should, because that's only logical. But I also wanted to compare it to the FX3, because when the A7R6 came out, I heard some complaints that the image seemed soft in 4K to some reviewers. And I think maybe they were comparing it to 8K and 7K oversampled cameras, which is fair because the A7R6, is marketed more as one of those cameras. But I guess the tricky part is the A7R6 in video mode is actually operating more like an FX3 or FX5 and not like an A7 IV, which is a 7K oversample for 4K video. It's not doing that. It's binning down to 5K and then oversampling from that. So I thought, let's instead compare the detail to the FX3 because they're shooting Hollywood movies on an FX3, so clearly there's enough detail to do that. And as you can see, I think it's the same or probably even slightly better than the FX3. So is the 4K video soft? No, not at all. It's not any softer than an FX3. In fact, it's a little bit sharper. But it is softer than 7K photo cameras that are oversampled, or some of the competitors, again, 7K oversampled cameras. But again, you're going to have trade-offs there, right? You're not going to get a camera that's going to read as fast as this camera.
Yeah, so I get what he's basically saying. Is like, obviously, high resolutions are going to introduce sharper images in general. I am honestly, I personally believe, I don't want my images to be too sharp. I mean, I think most people who shoot films don't want their films to be too sharp. That's why so many people are using black pro mist filters, diffusion filters, things like that. They're using haze. They're literally breaking up some of the actual, detail because that's just more appealing in general. So, no, I'm cool with the sharpness level.
I think the camera performs really well when it comes to the testing. I do have some notes, though, on my personal experience with using it, and maybe some warnings. I'm sure that the other channels are covering this a lot, especially talking about ergonomics and stuff like that. But this is a different camera than the FX3. It is much more like using an FX6, FX9, Burano, whatever. It's prioritizing sort of a multi-function wheel like you would find on a cinema camera to do everything with no thumb wheel on the back anymore. And the menu system is the Cine menu system, not the Alpha menu system that you see on the FX3. Now, I find the...
Hold on. In the chat, Cam Mackie is getting mad. He says, see that, y'all? He plays Gerald's LUTs, but not mine. No. I said nobody gets promotion. Nobody gets promotion. You can come on the show and promote your LUTs if you want to, but you ain't getting it over here. All right, here we go, Gerald.
We'll call it the Alpha.
Let's continue with Gerald's video, Cam. You had your time. We're on Gerald's video now.
Menu system. I find that one better, more intuitive, and easier to use and faster, and I'm more comfortable with it. Where I find the Cine system has some advantages in terms of features that it offers, like the ability to turn off noise reduction. There's better autofocus settings in there, like you can set it to face-only autofocus, so when it doesn't detect your face, it stops focusing on other things, which is kind of cool, as well as the ability to customize your HDMI output and get more out of it than you can on the Alpha cameras, where when you put the Alpha cameras in log mode, HDMI is limited to 1080p, weird things like that. You're not going to have those problems in the Cine menu. Yet strangely, even this camera with all the new codecs and everything else, it has an HS mode for H.265 codecs, and you still can't shoot 25 or 30p in the H.265 modes, even on this camera, where I kind of thought it would be solved on this one with the new menu. But it's the same issue with all the Alpha cameras, where you have to be in H.264 if you want to shoot 25 or 30p. And this one, you can shoot RAW and everything else, but if you're in H.265, still no 25 or 30p, which has never been explained to me why that is. And you'd think with all the extra power and new battery and everything else, they'd solve it, but no, maybe it's some sort of licensing thing or who knows what. But that's still a limitation. Other than that, pretty much everything is there in the Cine menu, which is nice. I just find it cumbersome to navigate. And because of the Cine menu, it's got things like when you change certain options, the camera has to reboot and things are on different pages and stuff. So you're definitely going to want to set up a custom My menu like you would on a cine camera, because otherwise it's just harder to use. It's a harder to use camera, and it's not a hybrid camera at all, despite it kind of having the sort of hybrid shape. This is purely video. I don't even think it takes photos. I'm pretty sure it doesn't. So this is purely a video camera, and one that I think if you have your mind, if you're coming from an FX6 or a Burano or something, and you want this as a smaller version of the camera, I think that your brain will already be in the right place for it. But if you have 3 FX3s and you're adding this into the mix, every time you go to this camera, you're going to be like, how do I use it again? Because it does not operate ergonomically like an FX3. But props to the screen.
Did y'all see that on my screen? Rob Machado sent me a text message saying y'all should watch my video. Rob Machado's not even in the chat, but he gonna text me. Busted, bro. Busted. But yeah, we'll watch your video next.
The screen on this thing is Sony's best screen ever. It's bigger, it's brighter, but it still has the mechanism from the A7R6, so it can flip out and rotate and completely turn around and do everything it wants to do while being a bigger, brighter, better screen. And I appreciate the other little inclusions like false color and stuff like that. Basically, to make the list of features that the Sony has now equal or competitive to, you know, everybody else that's out there, where before they might have done certain performance things better but be lacking in features. Now they have all the features for the people that wanted them. I still don't care about open gate and stuff like that, but it's good that there's a camera that has them all, so that if you're on the Sony system with a bunch of Sony lenses and stuff like that, you don't have to feel like you're missing out on something. Other than that, it's a great...
There it is. He still says open gate's unnecessary. He said it. Open gate's unnecessary, but if you feel like you're missing out on the feature, hey, at least now you got it with the Sony mount and your Sony lenses. Cam Mackie, he still says that your need for open gate is unnecessary. Shout out to Gerald Undone in the chat. W's in the chat for Gerald Undone. Great video, as always. We would expect nothing less from Gerald. I will say he did stay 10 toes down. He said, nah, we don't need that open gate, but sure, if you want to play around with it, hey, be my guest. Thanks for coming out of retirement, especially for doing the dynamic range test. I do feel pretty confident after watching this video. 14 stops at a dynamic range. Not too bad. The other thing I will say that I think Gerald made a really good point on, that I think a lot of Sony shooters are going to have to be prepared for, is this camera is set up like the Buranos, like the FX6, like the Venice. So yeah, if you are going from an FX3 or you have multiple FX3s, FX30s, just know there's gonna be a little bit of a learning curve when you get over to this camera, because the menus are totally different. The menus are set up slightly differently. Even all your custom pages, your custom menus, even your options are different. So just be prepared for that. And you should be good. But yeah, shout out to Gerald. W's in the chat for Gerald Undone on his video. Alpha Men, y'all are having a great day. Y'all are having a great day. FX5 seems to be doing, making everybody happy from what I can see online. Everybody's videos are pretty stellar. Obviously, no one's going to say anything too damning about the camera because, one, it just dropped, and then two, everybody wants to be nice to Sony. I mean, let's keep it 100. All right. I want to check out one of my favorite creators. If y'all don't know, he actually just texted us in case you just popped on and you missed it. But Rob Machado did drop his FX5 video. If y'all haven't been watching Rob Machado's videos, you need to be, because he probably has some of the best, if not the best, product videos on YouTube. But shout out to Rob. We're going to check out his video right now.
This is the new Sony FX.
Jeez, his video takes no time at all to get into it. If y'all couldn't hear it already, Rob's video takes no time at all. Machado, we're gonna go to watch Rob's video, and then I see some of y'all in the chat are asking for Maddie's video, so we'll check out Maddie's video second once we're done watching Rob's here. But yeah, we got Rob Machado's video. Man, these Sony videos are hitting hard today. The Sony fanboys, the Sony gang, the alpha men, they are excited about their new camera. So let's hop into Rob Machado's video and check it out. Sony FX5 review. He says it's the camera I've been waiting for. Let's see how good it is.
This is the new Sony FX5, and it's their next evolution in the cinema line to bridge the gap between their smaller mirrorless cameras and full-size cinema bodies. I'm here to tell you, this camera...
Okay, I'm sorry. Rob has some of the dopest product shots. Am I wrong? Chat, does Rob not have some of the best product shots off rip? I mean, we're only 13 seconds in. We're 13 seconds in? Bro, this boy snapped.
Is exactly what I've been waiting for. So in this video, we'll take a look at where it positions itself within the cinema line and whether you should consider adding one to your kit.
Also, probably my favorite thing about this review already is that we know Rob is coming from a place of somebody who shoots on multiple Buranos, owns a Burano, shot on FX9s. I did a project with him a couple years back, shot on those on the FX9, and he also owns a bunch of FX6s. So we're probably going to be getting a review here from somebody who has, on the YouTube spectrum, the most experience with the cinema line of Sony cameras. So I don't think he's gonna be like thrown off by the menus like Gerald Undone was. I think this is gonna sit like right at home for him, which is why he's already saying this is the camera he's been waiting for. But all right, let's hop into it.
So as a disclaimer, I was fortunate enough for Sony to send me this camera so I could check it out early, but I don't get to keep it, nor is this a sponsored video. I'm just truly out here for the love of the game. Ever since I started shooting Sony in 2016, their lineup has expanded into some of the most popular imaging systems in the world. If you shoot Sony, chances are you're probably using an FX3 or an FX6, or even both. And the FX5 seems to nestle itself right in between. I was obviously excited when I first saw the specs on paper, but after using this in the field and seeing the image quality firsthand, I was just blown away.
I feel like we're in a better spot, even though it's taken us a while to get back there. They limit the highs and lows, take the emotion out of it, focus on the task at hand. I think it's harder to say it for her because it's just not necessarily in her nature, but I'll fucking say it. We're going to win.
Wow, look at all these different setups.
The FX3 has been nothing but a staple for the entire industry, and there's been a lot of anticipation for an FX3 Mark II, and to be clear, that's not what this is, because a lot of the upgrades urge it much closer to an FX6, and then some. In fact, to me, this feels much more like a mini Burano than an FX6. And that's because we now have 5K internal RAW recording with XOC and LT. But in even bigger news, we're finally getting 3x2 open gate, which is a big deal because the only Sony cameras that currently offer open gate are the Venice and Burano. As a shoot,
dang, y'all see them prices? Y'all see them prices? Bro, Rob, first off, killing it on the video. But no, it is nice now that we have a camera that's not just $25,000 to get us open gate on a Sony.
Shooting format, box gear aspect ratios are in for a multitude of reasons, mostly for their versatility with social deliverables, but also due to budget-friendly anamorphics hitting the market. Just about everyone is able to get their hands on a set of anamorphics these days, and 3x2 is an amazing format because you have all kinds of options for extraction. Currently, 5K OpenGate is only available when shooting XOCN, but XAVC-I support is planned in a future firmware update, which will be huge because most clients just don't require RAW formats. On top of being the first FX camera to include OpenGate, it's also the first to include a dual gain output, which is honestly probably one of my favorite new features on this camera. At a very basic level, dual gain is sort of akin to HDR. One amplifier optimizes highlight detail, and the other prioritizes lower noise in the shadows, and the two are combined to increase dynamic range. But this sensor technology isn't new. In fact, Arri has been using dual gain architecture since the very first Alexa, and is why it was so successful during the digital revolution. More recently, it showed up in the A7R6, which the FX5 actually borrows a lot of technology from. When you're selecting your base ISO, there's a dual gain option, and in practice, it looks like it cleans up your shadows by about a stop, which is great because you get the noise floor of a lower exposure index without having to sacrifice highlight latitude. Here's a quick example at base 800, and honestly, both shots look.
Hold on, I want to look at this. I want to check this out for. I need to look at this real quick because here's the deal. Yeah, you're getting a little bit more detail, I guess, but like you said, it's a little bit more detail in the shadows, maybe an extra stop.
Great, but when I push them both 2 stops higher, you can see how incredibly clean the dual gain base looks, and the differences are even more noticeable when you toggle on false color. You do sacrifice a little bit of readout performance with the dual gain mode, so for fast movement, I'll still probably stick with a normal base, but it's really cool that we can push well over base 800 with incredibly clean images.
Yeah, so this is basically exactly what Gerald Undone was just saying. Like, you basically are getting, with the dual gain, you're going to get better dynamic range, but you're going to get a slower readout. So I think, it kind of just going to be up to you. Like, what's more necessary for you in that moment? If you are going movement shots, you're on a gimbal or you're running handheld, then you're probably going to want to go, just regular base ISO. But if you are on sticks and maybe you're trying to do like an interview or something like that, then it might be worth it to have a little bit more dynamic range and get that information.
Speaking of base ISO, the FX5 features a triple base ISO at 800, 4000, and 12800. The new 4000 is a perfect middle ground for most low light interiors, and the 4-stop jump to 12800 always felt a little too extreme for most situations, so it's really nice having that middle option. You can also fine tune the in-camera noise reduction or just turn it completely off if you want to. IBIS includes your standard steady shot, an active steady shot, and a dynamic active mode that rivals a gimbal, albeit with a larger crop. If you're doing a lot of panning, it's really easy to spot the electronic stabilization.
All right, no cap, I literally thought he was on a gimbal for those shots. When he showed them in the opening sequence, I did not realize that he was shooting those handheld. That's actually really impressive.
But if you're even making the slightest attempt to be steady, the results actually are pretty impressive and could be just what the doctor ordered when you forget your gimbal plate at home. For frame rates, the FX5 features 5K 60, 4.5K 120, and 1080 240. Currently, there's...
Wait, he's saying it's 5K 60, 4.5K or 4K up to 120 and 1080 240. That's not the same specs I saw from somebody earlier. Somebody earlier on Sony's website, didn't it say 5K at up to 120 frames per second? Maybe this is just an open gate. Hold on, maybe I missed that.
When you forget your gimbal plate at home. For frame rates, the FX5 features 5K 60, 4.5K 120, and 1080 240. Currently, there's no S&Q for XOCN, so to get 5K 60, you'll have to either set your project frame rate to 60 or use XAVC. The 240 option is a Super 35 1080p crop, but Sony is planning on adding...
Am I tripping? Chat, let me know. Am I tripping? Didn't Sony say 5K 120? Oh, let me look it up on this computer. I'm pretty sure Sony said 5K 120, right? Let's go to... What are y'all saying in the chat? Y'all are saying yes. B&H says 5K 120. 5K 60 and 5K 60 and 4K 120 on release. It's a firmware update. Oh, okay. It's a firmware update. Dang. Hopefully that firmware drops before the camera comes out.
4K 240.
Small text said in the future firmware update. Got it. All right. Appreciate that, chat.
Via a future firmware update. The FX5 packs a new Bion Z XR2 engine that integrates the AI autofocus chip with the processor. So that basically just means there's faster communication and improved processing to an already S-tier autofocus system. In fact, the latest generation of Sony autofocus was a massive reason for why I upgraded to cameras like the A9 III and A1 Mark II. Focus is so much stickier and confident from the machine learning, and having that reliability is so important because oftentimes a lot of us don't always get an opportunity for a second take or have the luxury for a focus puller. If you haven't used a Sony camera with the newer AI chip yet, I think you're in for a treat. All that new sensor tech is great and all, but hands down, my favorite thing about the FX5 actually has nothing to do with the image quality. That's because the FX5 inherits a nearly identical menu to the rest of the Sony Cinema line. It's sort of funny thinking about how one of my favorite features is a menu system, but if you know me, you know I'm huge on ergonomics, and this camera is so easy to use on set. If you're coming from an Alpha body or an FX3, there will definitely be a slight learning curve, just like with any new camera, but it's well worth it because you'll have absolutely no problem stepping up to a higher end camera like a Burano or a Venice. And conversely, for people like myself, the FX5 becomes seamless because we already know these menus inside and out. There are 3 menu styles that you can use depending on your preference and workflow. There's the Venice style side menu, the Big 6 home menu, as well as the standard FX menus. And whenever I'm shooting Burano, I usually operate with a clean feed on the onboard monitor and the Big 6 on the camera LCD, so I think it's really cool that I can mimic that same experience on the FX5. This new LCD is stretched out to fit a 16:9 image and features the 4-axis hinge design that everybody loves. And when you're shooting open gate, all of the OSD elements get pushed off to the side. This camera has a new power architecture to support the upgraded sensor and processing. So there is a new battery, which is the same one found in the A7R6 and adds about 20 minutes of runtime compared to the FX3, despite the upgraded internals. The camera actually ships with this neat little dual charger, which I think is really cool. And you can, of course, power the camera through now one of 2 USB-C ports, which replace the older multi-port. The top handle is now optional instead of being bundled like the FX3 and allows 32-bit float recording. And honestly, what I'm most excited for is that we have a dedicated audio page, which makes it so much easier when you're working with a sound mixer so they can actually set levels. It's sometimes difficult when I'm working with smaller alpha bodies since there's never proper audio meters, so the sound department is always just looking at me and never really knows what to set their line out to. It features dual CF Express Type A slots that are also compatible with SD cards, and your card speed requirements will vary depending on your recording format, but the older Sony Type A cards work just fine. There's a new removable EVF, and it slots into this new port in front of the MI shoe, and y'all, this thing is gas. It reminds me a lot of the GFX 100 EVF, which I love dearly, and having that third point of contact really adds a lot of stability when you're shooting handheld. Just be prepared for all the muggles asking you for a picture because it looks like you're shooting stills.
Amigo, we'll take a photo. Yo, amigo, does this look like a still? No, we're taking a photo.
It's particularly helpful when you're shooting outside so you can actually see your image, and I'm hoping that Sony or another third party makes a separate extension cable so we can relocate it if needed. Sony ditched the circular D-pad for this new multi-function dial, which is also probably one of my favorite ergonomic improvements. You can click it in to access the direct menu and get to nearly every setting you need by zipping around the overlays. I like operating with a clean feed, so a lot of times I'll find myself using the direct menu to quickly flash my settings if I ever need to check them. With the short amount of time that I've had this camera, I'm already super impressed. Mind you, my review unit's serial number is 20. And it already feels like a polished system. There's a richness to the image that reminds me a lot of the Burano, and it's incredible having such a robust image out of such a small body. And I know we've all been yearning for internal NDs, and I'm also in that camp, but I think this small form factor is also one of the biggest selling points for this camera. We can throw it on smaller gimbals, mount it for POV shots, or cram it into really tight spaces, all while retaining top-end image quality. And if you need internal NDs, there is still the FX6, which stripped down isn't really that much bigger than an FX5. But I will admit that it does set an interesting precedent, giving the substantial bump in image quality. But what excites me the most about this camera is the creative opportunity it presents with the feature set that it has. Chances are you're probably not losing work because clients are requesting things like OpenGate or XOCN, but that's not the point. The point is the availability of specific tools, because then I, as a DP, can present more options to the client. As cinematographers, we have the right to pitch and suggest visual ideas, and the tools are what enable us to keep pushing our creative envelope forward so long as that it supplements the story. Whether or not you shoot out into the kit kind of depends on where you're at as a filmmaker. If you frequent OpenGate, shoot a lot of low light, don't need stills, and want an exceptional B cam to an FX6 or higher, this will probably be a great option for you. I'm personally looking forward to spending more time with this camera because from my perspective, it punches way above its weight class, and I think is a great indicator for the future of Sony Cine.
Bro, Rob Machado, shout out in the chat. Shout out to Rob Machado, bro. Y'all ain't look. Look, photos got me. He say, y'all see how Brandon sat here and watched the whole video, no skips? I ain't gonna lie, I did. I watched that whole video, no skips. That might be my favorite video I've seen. Like, don't get me wrong. Dang, this is so bad. Now I dang forgot the man's name. Mark Bone. Mark Bone's video was dope. Don't get me wrong. Mark Bone's video was dope. But I think Rob probably did one of the best concise like showed me footage and walked me through the specs, showing me what the specs could do. Obviously, he's an amazing cinematographer, so his video quality is gonna be top notch. But yeah, man. And for me personally, like, so there's a certain thing that I sort of do when I there's a certain thing that I do when I watch these videos. For me, it's not always about just who has the bigger following. It's really about the context for the person who is giving me the information, right? So like in this case, Rob, I personally know Rob, but also like I know that he shoots on a Burano. He shoots on an FX6. He shoots on FX9s. He shoots on Venices. So his perspective of some of the elements of this is gonna be different. So, oh man, see, Mark Moses is in the chat. He says, "Yo, thanks for the love." Yeah, it's all love. It's all love, Mark. All love. But yeah, man, I am. I think these videos have been insane. He says we will be doing a screening for that film I shot in IMAX tonight in LA. Bro, congratulations! Shout out Mark Bone in the chat. Shout out Mark Bone doing dope stuff in the chat. But yeah, there's certain creators. There are certain creators that that they have a different level of experience with the gear that they're talking about. And so like, for me, I like Rob's video and I really appreciate Rob's perspective because he has that, he has that experience of shooting with all the different systems, knowing the Sony cinema menus very well. And then also, as y'all could see just from the work, he's a super fantastic DP and he knows his stuff. And so his work is going to be great. But yeah, shout out to Rob for that amazing video. Cam Mackie says, I'll be there at the screening. So that'll be super sick. Dang, I'm so happy for you guys. And then what does it say? Cam Mackie said, my video wasn't an FX5 video. Your video was an FX5 video. For part of it. Part of it was FX5, and then part of it was you shooting on Leica, which we know that. Like, we're fans of yours. So we know exactly what we're going to get. But if I'm in the mindset of, like, trying to get information on the FX5, I just know I got to be ready to hit that skip to get through your video. But no, shout out to Cam. Shout out to Rob. Shout out to Mark Bone. We watched Gerald Undone's video already. Yo, what's up, Terry? Terry Warfield in the chat. Tight T-shirt Terry. In the chat. Good to see you in here, brother. Insane. Did you end up getting those? So in case y'all missed it, I know a lot of y'all are buying FX5s today. Y'all spending your money on FX5s. Converse is coming out with a collaboration with Dragon Ball Z, but it drops tomorrow. So when that drops, that's where I'm spending my money. That's where I'm spending my money this week. I'm buying some custom, or no, they're not even custom. They're just Chucks. So Terry says he didn't get his until yesterday. So he'll definitely be dropping some reels and stuff like that. So that's what I expect. Can't wait to hear what you have to say about the camera as well, Terry. I think for me, that's the biggest deal with all of them. Like with everybody's videos, just understanding where they come from. You know what I mean? Like, I really want to see what Terry has to say about this camera as a content creator and somebody who isn't necessarily like in the filmmaking space. Like obviously I think right now it's so blurry as far as like who's a filmmaker, what's a filmmaker and all that good stuff. But I like looking at Terry's stuff for that reason. He says, Brandon, why didn't Sony send you one? Well, let's say I'm a little critical. I might be a little critical for Sony to be sending me out one, at least early, but who knows? I mean, they've definitely, we had a great conversation at NAB. Maybe there's a chance for me to check out one later. Obviously, you got to put one in the hands of the actual Sony shooters. I actually think that's actually more valuable is to get the information from them. But then, yeah, I think you need to put the camera in the hands of people who don't necessarily shoot Sony so we can see what we can do with it as well. So who else's videos have y'all seen? I see right now they're saying YC just dropped the most honest FX5 video. Ooh, what does that mean, honest? Does that mean he's critical of it? Let me know. Let me know what y'all think. Who else dropped one? Terry says, I am, how many zeros is that? 1, 2, 3, 1,000,000%. I'm 1,000,000% copying. Mark Bow says, Brandon, are you flying in tonight? I am not flying in tonight. That is not happening. But, you know, take a picture and send it to me. I'll Photoshop AI myself into the photo. No, but yeah, who else's videos have y'all seen today that made y'all feel like you feel pretty confident? Now, the poll is up. I have not checked the poll in a minute. Let me go check the poll real quick and see where we are. Are you talking or are you buying? 448 votes right now, and it's leaning that you guys are talking. Now, I need y'all's help because, as y'all know, we still have our show that we're gonna do on Friday, as we always do. We'll have our uncensored live show Friday, where obviously a big part of the conversation will be on this camera. But today is Sony Day, so we're just gonna talk about the camera today. But come Friday, some of y'all been asking some really important questions that I need some time to go back and really think about, right? Like where does this camera sit in the market based off its current price point? How does this camera currently compare image quality wise, resolution wise, for the dollar, the accessories, the specs? Like where does this camera really sit in the market? This is going to be some of the things that we're going to really dive into on Friday. Obviously, we'll be excited and talk about it, but the question is, where do y'all feel? How are y'all feeling? What is the barometer right now on the FX5? Let me know right now in the chat. I'm going to pull a couple of these up. So y'all go ahead and let me know what y'all's thoughts are on the FX5. Whether you are excited about it, whether you're not excited about it, let me know about it. I also do want to pull this comment up. 448 votes. Over 300 active people watching live, only 76 likes. Do me a huge favor, hit that like button. Hit that like button if you appreciate live. If y'all actually like doing this. When a new camera comes out, going live, watching a couple videos, talking about it. Let me know if y'all actually enjoy doing live streams like this and having communication and conversation about the gear. Because I love doing streams like this. Because the truth is I would be doing all of this already. Like I would be watching all these videos and probably talking to my friends about the camera and all that kind of stuff. So I just figured like, hey, let's just do it live. Let's do it with you guys. Cause y'all are like my favorite people to talk about new camera gear with anyway, because y'all have insights that I don't even know. So appreciate that. And yeah, I appreciate everyone who's hitting that like button, who's enjoying doing a live stream like this together. All right, so let's go in and see what y'all are talking about. Joshua says, I'm not even talking. He's just here for the love of the game. You know? Joshua said, I'm just here for the love of the game. I'm not even talking. We just here hanging out. Now, this one says, a Lumix S1H2 is in a Kenny Vista body, but with, I'm not sure where the rest of your comment went there. I mean, so don't get me wrong. This is one of the biggest things because this week, ironically, so y'all, some of y'all don't even know this, but I have a Lumix S1 II. And this week I shot with it a lot because I had to shoot some content and I needed open gate. And so it's my only camera right now that actually has open gate. And I shot with that camera again this week and realized again, like I fell back in love with the camera. That's one of the biggest things that I feel like I want to discover over the next couple days before we get to Friday's show is in a world where C50s exist, S12s exist, what are we really getting for the price from an FX5? I don't want to rain on its parade, but what are we really getting? So I think other brands are definitely going to have still some room to think about it. The 4-axis screen. Yeah, I think the 4-axis screen is pretty cool. Go into a couple of these. Tristan said headline should be $5,000. Tristan was one of the people in the chat on a previous episode that was saying that this camera he would be fine if this camera was well over $5,000, $5,500. I mean, 5,000 is not crazy. 5,000 body only, not crazy. Thomas says, currently watching Kofi's video. I'll be back in 30 minutes. Kofi's video is going to be long. I didn't even know that he had actually officially released it. Or somebody told me that, but I think it dropped late. I think he might have just finished up his video. Let's see. Yeah, oh wow. Kofi's video is 36 minutes long. It's titled Lumix, Canon, and Nikon Bullied Sony into Greatness. That's actually not a bad title. Maybe we'll hop into Kofi's video here in just a minute. We can watch Kofi's video after I get through some of these. Ken says, I'm buying. Currently shooting with an FX6 and the A7 IV as the B camera. The improved resolution and image quality and the price sealed the deal for me. Yeah, I think if you're on an FX6, this is a no-brainer secondary B camera. Easily. Super chat came in. This is a nice run through from a let me slow down. Y'all know I'm dyslexic. This is a nice run through from a Canon shooter. Well, appreciate that. Appreciate it. Thank you so much for the kind words on the channel. So I think it's supposed to say, if Nikon makes their camera open gate and everything else there could do with it, does this let them compete with the FX5? I think the Nikon, honestly, I think the ZR needs two main things. I think the ZR needs open gate and it needs compressed RAW. If the ZR figured out a way to do a software update and gave us open gate and compressed RAW, it would be a diabolical system. A diabolical system, hands down. I'm thinking of swapping out my Komodo, bro. I'm telling you, I think people are gonna be making some decisions. Bill knows something we don't know. He says, you know that the S1H2 is coming next week. I have not heard that rumor at all. Let me know your source, or if it's been posted online, let me know. But I haven't heard that at all. Yeah, Jordan says, yeah, we're tickling the KX with this price point. Like, it's actually really insane when you think about, like, you know, when it's so hard when you start comparing cameras, because you think about this camera and then you compare it to like the FX6 and you go, okay, that's about $1,000 more for an FX6. What am I really getting? But then when you compare it to like the KX, it's like, whoa, wait a minute, you're getting a lot, and the KX is sitting at $7,000. So it really does come down to like, what are you looking for out of your camera? It is a diabolical price point depending on what you're looking for. We just got to see what really is out there. Ron says, I'm not a Sony fan, but this does look like a great camera for Sony. And that's really, I mean, I think that's a no-brainer statement for me right now, is that, like, I'm not saying I'm not a Sony fan. I am a Sony fan. I like Sony cameras, and I like when Sony makes great cameras. But regardless of what system you're on, I think you have to appreciate the technology that is this camera. Now, if you agree on the price, it's completely up to you. But, you know, I think out of the gate, just looking at the specs and what the camera can do, it is a great deal. Yeah, Tristan said, yes, sir, I was satisfied at 5,500. So coming in at under 5,000, fantastic body only, and then you can pick up whatever accessories you need. So let's see, which other ones? Dynamic range of signal noise ratio is 2 to 14 stops. That is crazy. There is only a handful of cameras that can beat that. Yeah, I do believe that the dynamic range on this camera is absolutely insane. The dynamic range on this camera is insane. Definitely something to take. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I want to shoot with it. I want to test it out. Like, I do. Like, there's been a lot of Sony cameras that have come out in the last year to 2 years that has not made me excited for them whatsoever, which is probably why Sony stopped sending me cameras. That said, this is one that is, and for me, like, it's just about keeping it real. I don't really care about the brands. I just want to be honest with you guys. This camera does have me excited for a couple reasons. The dynamic range. I want to test that RAW and that RAW workflow. And then when I'm shooting video, I like cinema menus. I like having those options in my tool belt. And this camera seems to have everything that I would need. Bill says, I think Sony is mad at Brandon. Sony has probably been mad at me for a while. Probably since the FX2. Some of the things I said about the FX2, they probably will never forgive me for. But that's just how I honestly felt. Like I don't really care about the brands. Like I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Seriously, Brandon, will you do a KX versus an FX5 video? If I can get my hands on an FX5, 100%. I'd love to do that. This camera is a solid offering, but a global shutter would have set it apart. I do agree. Originally, some of the rumors on this thing said that we were going to get a global shutter from it. Unfortunately, that did not happen. But I do believe that the fully stacked sensor is at least helpful. So, not terrible. But yeah, it was pretty decent. Triple base ISO, fully stacked sensor, XYZ, it's a monster. It is a monster, Terry. It is a monster for sure. Sorry, I'm just trying to get through some of the comments. If y'all have any other ones, let me know. A lot of people don't realize that they came up with them an even more compressed version of XOCN, giving us even smaller file sizes in 16-bit. Yeah, and that's sort of like the thing that's really interesting. I mean, now, obviously, we know that Red had the patent for compressed RAW. I'm not even really sure how Sony is able to get away with this. I'm not sure if they paid or they're just going to fight it out in court. I don't know how that whole deal works. But I am team compressed RAW, and like real compressed RAW. Now, obviously, I haven't shot with it, but I am hoping that it's a really solid, real compressed RAW. I have always been like one of the people who wasn't like the biggest fan of Blackmagic RAW because I felt like it wasn't like fully compressed RAW. Like you didn't get all the RAW elements that I would want. Still a great codec, still great dynamic range, but not real RAW. I am hoping that this one is a real RAW competitor. Yeah, Mr. Camera Junkie says, I think that the 16-bit compressed RAW will be the game changer. I think that is where people are going to see the biggest difference in their image. Now, somebody was saying this earlier when we were watching Cam's video, I believe. They were saying that the images look good. And you're right. Like, truthfully, we are going to be talking about marginal differences between what the audience, and like depending on the eye of the audience, they may not even be able to perceive that you went from an FX3 to an FX5. Like let's just keep it 100. But I think as a filmmaker, there are certain tools that you need to be able to craft the image that you want to create, despite your audience's ability to be able to decipher the difference between one camera and another. So that's just sort of my opinion. But yeah, that's my opinion on it. That's my opinion on it. But hey, that's just one guy's opinion. Terry says, I say bad stuff about Sony all the time. Well, Terry, they just like you more than they like me. I don't know what the deal is. Maybe because I was dogging them every single week for like 3 or 4 weeks in a row. I don't know. But Terry, they just like you more than they like me, obviously. All right, now Logan brings up a good point, kind of taking it back over to Lumix. He says, Lumix has ProRes RAW, but that's even bigger. Sony is the only one other than Blackmagic with a digestible RAW size option. I think I agree with what you're saying. I think in that size, because ProRes RAW is massive. I mean, it's bigger than ProRes. Like it's almost unusable. Like it really is. It's almost unusable. I've had to like rely on it a few times, but every time I hate it. The only major benefit of ProRes RAW in the Lumix for the longest was that it was internal. You could actually do it internally. But yeah, hopefully we get some better compression RAWs in the future. Let me see. How do y'all feel about having false color? Bro, I love the false color. False color is my favorite way to pull exposure. Like, honestly, it's my favorite tool when it comes to getting exposure. I trust false color more than I trust my eye, more than I trust a monitor. Like false color is how I actually dial in my exposure for almost all of my shots, especially if I'm like, you know, working on my red or working with like another cinema camera. Like false color is goated to me. So in my opinion, all like video first cameras should have false color. Terry says, I hate that they did this with the anamorphic and IBIS though. So Terry, I'm right there with you. From Cam's video, it feels like they embraced anamorphic, but not fully in the way that like Lumix has done it. You know, not only did they take anamorphic and get rid of the autofocus whenever you're de-squeezing in camera, but it looks like they also took away the IBIS. That is like the IBIS I can maybe understand, because honestly, I still don't even really fully understand how Lumix is able to do anamorphic IBIS, but they're wizards when it comes to the actual anamorphic stuff. The autofocus thing I don't really get, because you're basically saying if you want to keep your autofocus, now you still got to use a monitor, which it makes your rig so much bigger. Let's see what other things y'all said. Red's original raw compression is expiring in 2028. They have a new design for compressed raw they filed, but the original, in fact, is expiring. Whew. Yeah, hopefully we're gonna get some more compressed raw. Kofi says he pre-ordered it. Kofi says y'all can keep talking, I'm buying. Shout out to you, Kofi. Here's one from one of our amazing members. Tyrese says, I don't think people are comparing the KX, comparing it to the KX is the most fair comparison, because it's $2,000 more body only, and most people are rigging out the Komodo with more than just a lens. So yeah, price point wise, I think you're 100% spot on. Like the Komodo X is a different camera, designed for a different use case, and that global shutter is designed for a very specific use case. So I do think that the KX is different. That said, I mean, the market is what the market is. You're going to have to ask yourself, what's the best tool for the job? Ken says, this does make me wonder what they do with the upgrade for the FX6. I knew they weren't going to add internal NDs to the 5 because it would make the FX6 completely irrelevant. So my theory, and we'll see if this comes true or not, but my theory is that we won't, like the same way we didn't see an FX3 Mark II, I don't think we're going to see an FX6 Mark II. I think we'll probably see something like an FX7 or an FX8, where it'll get a nice update and it'll be able to sit closer between the FX5 and the Burano, but be higher than an FX6. So that way they can still justify having the FX6 to sell, because the FX6 is still selling. Yesterday, somebody called me and they were like, hey, so you've been on top of the FX5 rumors, you've been keeping up with it, you kind of know roughly what the price point is going to be. Why are they coming out with an FX5 and not an FX3 Mark II? And my honest opinion, again, just my opinion, no, I don't know anything from Sony, is that the camera at an FX5 justifies a higher price and more features. If they went with an FX3 Mark II, they would have to give it more features to justify the upgrade, but they couldn't really justify charging a whole lot more, because people would say, well, it's an upgrade from the FX3, the price should be in alignment. This allowed them to throw the kitchen sink at an FX3 style camera and put anything and everything they possibly could into the camera, and then be able to charge what they needed to be able to charge to make it make sense, which is why it's the FX5 instead of an FX3 Mark II. That's just my opinion. But I do think it'll be interesting to see what comes as a replacement to the FX6, because full transparency, I even to this day think that the FX6 is my favorite documentary style camera that I have used on a documentary. I love the internal NDs. I love the ergonomics. That is the camera that, like, y'all keep making jokes about me switching or me buying this camera. If this camera was actually something closer to an FX6 replacement or an upgrade from an FX6, that's something that that's something that I would immediately start thinking about picking up, because that's the camera that I am missing now. And I don't know when or if Nikon or Red is going to be able to give me something like that has really good autofocus, that has internal NDs, that sticks with a mirrorless mount, and that has that type of ergonomics. I really hope that I get something from Nikon and Red, because I love just staying in one ecosystem. The closest thing I have to that right now is like a Canon C80. I don't own it, but like the closest camera is like a C80, but I don't love the ergonomics of the C80 as much as the FX6. Sorry, I'm trying to go through some of these chats. Y'all are throwing out a lot of y'all ideas. An FX6B? No, that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for an actual upgrade. Don't just change like a micro amount. But now that all this tech is sitting inside of the FX5, I'm willing to bet you we could take that and basically put it into the body of an FX6, tweak the body a little bit, give it internal NDs, and now we're cooking. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like the right framework has been put in place with the FX5, that now we can just take those menus, take those settings, maybe even take that sensor, throw it into a bigger body, and now we're in a good place. Terry says, bro, we are so spoiled with these dang amazing pocket rocket cameras. Like, I'll be honest with y'all. Like, I actually have a camera right now that I've been testing. This is the Insta360 Luna. Like, when I tell y'all, we are spoiled. Like, we are spoiled. Everything is great right now. Like, I just got this thing in like a couple days ago, and I've been playing around with it. We are spoiled. We are living in like the best time in the world to want to make films, content, videos, whatever, do photography. Like, it's crazy. Cam Mackie, you're even crazier. That's a wild comment. I'm not putting that on screen, but that's wild. That's a wild thing for you to say on the internet for everybody to see. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. It says, do you think Lumix, DJI, or Blackmagic could make something that would stand against this? So, full transparency. As it sits right now, the Lumix S12 rivals this as it sits. Like, I'm trying to, like, obviously haven't done my full research. Y'all been watching me live for like the last 2 hours. Like, I've been with y'all this entire time. So I don't know. I haven't had any time to really digest all this information and do any of my own deep research. But this camera shoots 5K open gate. The S12 shoots 5K open gate at 60 frames a second. They both do that. Now, granted, the Sony is supposed to be getting 5K at 120, but that's come with a software update. I'll believe it when I see it. Currently, the Sony's biggest advantage is possibly dynamic range, which I need to go look at the numbers on, and the compressed RAW codec. I mean, outside of that, you've got IBIS, you've got autofocus, you've got D-squeeze. I mean, like, the Sony's probably better at the autofocus, but like the Lumix still gives you D-squeezing camera. It gives you D-squeeze autofocus. Like the Sony, don't get me wrong, it is great, but the S12 does not have that 16-bit RAW compressed. That is the thing right now that's probably the only thing that's pushing it over. And my question is, for the majority of people, what you're shooting, will you be able to see the difference? I don't know. So I feel like Lumix is probably the closest one to create something that will be able to compete based off of the brands that you're putting. DJI, I think DJI has a much bigger issue right now with the fact that even if they had a unicorn camera, they can't really sell it in the US, which is going to be a huge issue for them. So yeah, I'm not really sure if they really have it. Blackmagic, they could compete. I think Blackmagic could definitely do something in the price point, but right now they've been trying to figure out autofocus, which is their biggest undertaking as far as like being able to compete with the Sony. But I think they could release a dope sensor. I think they could have a good menu system. I think a lot of the other elements, they have Blackmagic RAW, which they could continue to update. But that's 12-bit RAW. It's not 16. So yeah, it's tough. That 16-bit RAW is going to be a big factor. But right now, for what 90% of people will see the difference in, I think the S1 II is probably the closest. But DJI, they have other issues that they need to figure out. So they need to work on that for right now. Let's see. Let's turn that back on. Go to sleep. Let's see. Thomas is saying that used prices for the S1 II right now are wild low. I see somebody in the chat put in that they are as low as $2,300. See, that's the issue I think with Lumix is that like as much as people love the Lumix cameras, I think that people need more lens options and a more robust overall ecosystem. So yeah. Mark Bone said, I shot 9 days of the documentary Context in XOCN RAW, and it only was 3 terabytes. So dang, that's crazy. So Mark shot for all 9 days and only used up 3 terabytes in LT. That is wild. That's wild that you shot RAW for 9 days and you only left with 3 terabytes. That is crazy, Mark. Crazy. Yeah, it's that RAW. It's that 16-bit RAW that like when you ask, like when you look at the camera, because this is gonna be the argument, right? Because you guys know I do this show every Friday, so I know how these conversations go when it comes to gear. When you ask about how does this camera compare, price, all those things, what you're gonna look at is 16-bit RAW compressed in camera, written to a CF Express Type A card, and it's like from what he's saying, the file on this RAW is equal to the 422X ABCI. All I like, it's crazy. It's crazy that you're getting RAW in that file size. Man, it personally makes me like frustrated because I kept telling Nikon, please release your firmware. Please compress this RAW. Because especially in a day and age right now where like the cost of storage is ridiculous. I mean, am I capping? Like the cost of storage is only getting higher. SSDs are only becoming more expensive. It is crazy to me that we're not getting more compressed files like this. And so Sony giving us those compressed files is pretty amazing. Mark says, all I care about is that the audio ports aren't blocked by the LCD monitor now. So like, I mean, ergonomics have obviously been fixed as well. One thing that was rumored that I haven't heard anybody talk about is the screen size. Is the screen size the same as the FX3? Hey, Mark, if you don't mind in the chat, let me know. Is the LCD monitor the exact same size as the FX3? Because originally rumors were saying that it was going to be a little bit bigger, but there wasn't like an exact number. I do now know that Terry is saying it's 3.5 inches. Okay, so it is a little bit bigger. Yeah, everyone's saying, okay, yeah, they say, Mark Bone's saying it's way bigger, much nicer. Compared to the ZR, that's what I need to know. Ugh. Yeah, virtually, I don't know how to say that. Says, if Nikon produced a very compressed RAW with great data rates, it might be worth not getting an FX5. I will say right now, if we could get compressed RAW on the ZR, I would be happier. I'm not like, I want open gate. Like I really want open gate, but compressed RAW would affect my day-to-day way more. Terry says, it's bigger, but the UI takes advantage of the screen much better than the FX3. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the way you want it. Mark Bone says the ZR is still the nicest. So it's not the same, but it's a little bit bigger. ZR is the nicest in terms of LCD screen plus size. Gotcha. So yeah, I feel like, these are the things that as a creator on a regular basis, you're going to interact with your camera the most and to try to get the most out of it. So I think if we can get those elements and like the camera is working, is doing exactly what we need, we'll be really happy. Shout out to Aaron in the chat. He says, I bought it, sold the FX3. I just wish the ZR had a compressed RAW plus open gate, giving up on open gate. I mean, unfortunately, Aaron, I'm kind of in line with you. Not that I'm selling or leaving my ZR, but I'm starting to feel less and less confident in time that the ZR is ever going to get a compressed RAW or that it's going to get open gate. Cause I genuinely was thinking like, oh, it'd been perfect to drop right around Cine Gear, hence, Z Cinema and all these other things. But the fact that like, even at Cine Gear, which this would have been the ZR's first Cine Gear, they didn't do anything. Like Red had an area, and I think they had like 1 or 2 ZRs in their booth, but there was no talk about the ZR at Cine Gear, which really felt like the place you would do that. You know what I mean? Like the ZR is Nikon's first cinema camera, obviously in collaboration with Red, but still, and they didn't make a big deal about it, and that's making me feel some kind of way. So yeah, so I really, it really bugs me. Oh, Terry says also the removable EVF is also crazy. I'm really happy with the removable EVF. I didn't think I was gonna be happy with that one, but I am. I'm happy with how the removable EVF actually works. This is what we asked for, and they gave it to us. It's crazy. Yeah, he says, they did nothing. It felt like the ZR is now an afterthought. That irritates me a lot, but I hope it's not. I think we can still get there. Oh, Cam just sent me a side. I don't know, Cam. Actually, I don't know if I can say that. Let me not say that. Appreciate you, Cam. Thanks for the information. Cam, text me. Can I tell people this? Okay, yeah, he said I can say it. So what Cam just did is he's showing me the FX5 side by side with the ZR. Let me see if I can show it to y'all. I gotta ask. I think I'm free to say whatever at this point. Cam is sending me details right now, which is super helpful. Let's see. I just asked Cam if I can show it. Yeah, he says share away. Perfect. All right, cool. So I'm game to be able to show whatever I want now. So let me throw this up on the screen so y'all can check it out. All right. So this is from Cam Mackie. So this is the FX5 side by side with the ZR. So yeah, it's still smaller than the ZR. The ZR screen is just unmatched, y'all. It's unmatched. And a lot of it has to do with the actual body of the ZR that allows it to be as great as it is. But the FX3 screen or the FX5 screen is a little bit bigger than the FX3, and now it's got that extra little swivel point. So yeah, it's not as big as an FX as a ZR, but it's pretty good. So yeah, so I think that's pretty dope. I dig that. Shout out Cam Mackie, appreciate you sending me that over. Yeah, Terry was saying the FX5 has that 4-way action. Yeah, so that's very similar to what you have on the Lumix, where it tilts out, which I actually use a lot. But then it can also swivel out and then turn in all the other ways. So, yeah, it's pretty dope. Cam says, I'm about to head out to Mark's premiere. What were you asking him for? Have Cam join the screen. So what I'm gonna try to do is see if I can get a couple of these creators who got the camera to hop on Friday. So if any of y'all creators who got the camera, Terry, Cam, Kofi, Mark Bone, any of y'all, if y'all are free on Friday, hit me up and let me know, and we'll have you on the show on Friday to talk a little bit about the camera after all of the, after the initial buzz has worn off. But yeah, it is kind of, I'm with Terry. It's kind of a toss up on those. Kofi says, I can be on. Terry's down. So cool. All right. So yeah, we'll have a couple creators on Friday. So if y'all are down, I'm down. Come on the show. And yeah, we'll set it up. We'll talk about this camera a little bit more, especially because y'all also have had some experience with some other cameras, which I love. So Friday's episode, y'all definitely going to want to be here for, because we'll have a few different creators on talking about this camera and their experience. So that'll be really dope. All right. And then let me see. ZR already has Z-Raw compress normal. Wait, no. Sorry. Okay, so I just saw this comment. The ZR already has in RAW compressed normal. Wish they could add R3D in E normal. Yeah, so I see what you're trying to say. It's not really compressed. It's not that compressed. It's just really not that compressed. I wish it was better. Like I do. I'm just full transparency. I wish it was more compressed. My understanding is that it can't be done though. My understanding is that putting the, I don't want to say normal, but putting the R3D, ELQ, LQ, HQ, MQ from the red ecosystem over to the ZR, my understanding is that cannot be done. So hopefully we get it. Anthony says, did you know that the Z6 III in RAW files will process exactly like the red Kodak ZR if you just change the file extension? So I have, there's actually a couple people a few months ago, back around Cinegear, released a bunch of videos basically breaking down this fact. The problem I have is that in RAW is really not that compressed either. Like it's still a pretty heavy file. And my understanding is that the in RAW was not as sharp, and also the log profile doesn't work exactly the same. So you're not getting a one for one on the actual log profile. That's the only issue. But yes, I did hear about that, which is kind of cool. It's a neat little workaround, and which that also only works in DaVinci. My understanding is that it does not work in Final Cut, and it also doesn't work in Premiere. I could be wrong about the Premiere one, but I know for a fact it doesn't work in Final Cut. Brother Ted says, I'm starting to agree with Gerald. All these cameras are getting so good, the gear debates will start to mean less and less. I think that at this point, when we're talking about gear debates, the question isn't necessarily like what image is better, or if I shoot this on one camera and I shoot this on another camera and I put them side by side, can you tell the difference? I think now it's not even about debates, because all the gear is good. I think the question now is which cameras offer the features that are best for me, that make my life a bit easier as a creator. Do you have false color? Do you have open gate? Do you shoot 60 frames per second? Do you have IBIS? Do you have 32-bit float? Do you have D-squeeze? Do you have autofocus in your anamorphic? These are all elements that I think as creators, depending on what you shoot, you will determine what you need. And then based off what you determine that you need, you will then pick the camera that offers those things that you need. On top of that, I also do believe that ecosystem is equally as valuable as some of these specs, because if you know that you're going to need more than one camera, or that you're going to need multiple lens options or different lens options, knowing what ecosystem you're living in is going to help you get the most expansive reach of what is possible as a creator with the tools you have. So I don't necessarily look at it as like a camera for camera, spec for spec battle. It's more, what opportunities do I have based off of the system, camera, lenses, whatever that I'm choosing to buy. And then how can I get the most out of it? That's sort of my approach when it comes to gear today. Because you're right. I mean, I do believe that if I were to show you, like, honestly, Cam Mackie could easily have been like, psych, everything I told you that was shot on the FX5 was actually shot on the Lumix S1 II, and this whole thing was a joke to prove that, you know, the camera doesn't matter, you don't even know the difference. He could totally do that, and all of us would have fallen for it. I don't think that's what he did, but he could have. And if that would have been the case, it wouldn't have mattered. But what would have mattered was his experience while shooting and his experience while editing, and that's where picking the right camera for you, I think, is the best. You know, that's why you got to pick the right camera for you. Aaron says, so could they make a new compression just for the ZR? All the things we want from the ZR just starting to sound like a new camera at this point. That's unfortunately, Aaron, what I think. I think, unfortunately, when it comes to the ZR, what we're really asking for is a new camera. Like, that's just what I feel. Yep, 1,000. All about workflow and which offers the least friction. Yeah, and for me, that's really what it is. Cam's like, psych, this was all the FX2. If that is true, Cam, if your entire video was actually shot on the FX2 and not the FX5, I'll sell my ZR. Show me the files. Show me the files. If that's the case, show me the files. I'll sell my ZR. 16-bit RAW in the hands of someone who doesn't know how to color grade is as good as shooting in H.265. Actually, it's probably worse because your file sizes are too massive and you're kind of bummed that you used up so much data. Let's see. On the C50, I know Canon needs to protect some new cameras, but they need to find a way to add open gate 60 frames per second, at least in 4K. Really don't need 7K. I mean, Cam says it was actually all the Canon T2i. See, now Gerald's going to show up on the stream. Now Gerald, actually, surprise, no, I'm just kidding. Now Gerald feels like he can actually show up on the stream because all of that was shot on the T2i. No, I mean, I do genuinely look at that, and I agree with what you're saying about Canon needing to do more with the open gate. I think now we're in a place where, especially with the FX5 release, can't hold back. Can't hold back in any way whatsoever. ZR2 new camera is needed. Unfortunately, I have to agree with you, Brandon. The request features need better processing. And that's sort of my biggest issue. It's like, I know for OpenGate, we're probably going to have to get a new camera. For more compressed RAW, I don't know if you can do that with a software update. But like Red has done that in the past. Like they had LQ, MQ, HQ, and then with a software update, the Reds were given ELQ through a software update. So compressing the RAW further and then being able to send that out via a software update is possible in the Red World ecosystem. I just don't know if the ZR was built to be able to do the same thing, because the ZR was under development before Nikon ever even bought Red. So that's my only issue. Aaron says the S1H Mark II coming swinging now. Like, I believe if Lumix has the S1H Mark II, if they've been working on it, if it's ready, if it's close to ready, talk to your engineers. We're switching to 6-day weeks. We got to get this camera out. We got to get this camera out ASAP. Because this is not what you want to hear. GTA 6 will be out before the S1H Mark II comes out. I honestly was convinced to a certain degree we'd never get GTA 6. We need that Lumix out. We need that Lumix out ASAP. Because honestly, if anybody can rival this camera, I think it would be Lumix, because they have nothing to protect. They do not have an FX6 to protect. So like, could they do internal NDs? If anybody could, I think they could, because they've got nothing to protect, especially at that price point. So that is something that I would be here for. That'd be the thing I'd be the most excited about right now. He says, I'm going to go mess with my T3i right now. I have a remote so I can nail focus. Sure, it's loud as heck. Yeah, the T3i autofocus was probably one of the loudest, especially if you had those cheap lenses where you just had that zit, zit, zit. So Chandler says, hey, Brandon, best practices for proper exposure on this camera would be an awesome thing to cover. I would probably say that the best practice is probably going to be, I mean, I agree with you. I would love to talk about that on this camera. I believe that it's going to be false color in some manner. Anthony says, just drop the price of the Raptor XE to $3,000 to $4,000 and boom, kill the market. That would kill the market. It might bankrupt. Well, I guess Red's already been bought out by Nikon. So, I mean, Nikon's stock price would plummet, and but they would sell a ton of units. So you ain't wrong, Anthony. Just drop the price of the Raptor to $3,000 to $4,000, and they'll take over the whole market. Everybody will be switching to Red. Let me see. What was that question? Was that a question? Oh, is this true? JP says that Lumix did file a patent for internal NDs a while ago. I might have missed that news cycle. Let's go. I will say, you want to make people not care about specs? Give them internal NDs. Give them internal NDs. People won't even care about those specs. How sick would a dual release be from Lumix? A mirrorless style body with no NDs or SDI or RAW, then a cinema style body with NDs and SDI, and both have the same sensor and specs. So that's actually be a pretty sick release, and it wouldn't be too uncommon from Lumix, because we got that with the S5, we got that with the S1 II, because they had the S1 II and the S1 IIe or something like that. It was like the budget version. So that wouldn't be the most uncommon Lumix. Like, it would be a very Lumix thing to do a dual drop. The camera that has everything we've been asking for, and then a more affordable version of it. JP says that thing was, that the patent was filed in 2023. Oh, so it's been a minute. So that's enough time for them to implement it. That's good, because if like they had like just filed it like earlier this year, I'd be like, I don't know if they can really implement it. But it sounds like they could do it. Says Nikon is suing for the Z mount. Why can't Lumix sue for internal NDs? Would be funny if they could instantly monopolize. Yeah, I don't think you can retroactively go back, and I don't think they own the patent for internal NDs. It's probably just the implementation on that specific camera. So like the hinge system or whatever it is, how they're actually doing it with that one camera is what they would be filing a patent for. Yeah, I think Lumix is going to do something serious real soon. I do too. My biggest concern with Lumix is not like I don't even think Lumix has really a camera body problem right now. I think they have a lens and an ecosystem problem right now. And as much as, yes, I want an S1 IIh with all the things, internal NDs, SDI, maybe a box style, cool screen, maybe even like the FX5 detachable EVF, whatever. They have an ecosystem issue, and that ecosystem includes the lenses. And so whether that is Sigma comes out with like an amazing set of L mount lenses that are like specifically designed to work with these cameras, or like that amplify these camera setup, like they need a little bit more. That's currently like, I think the biggest issue I think with Lumix right now. It is more of an ecosystem problem, not an individual camera body problem, because their camera bodies, I mean, they do so on everybody. Like they're better than everybody's right now. Let me see. What else did you say? Photo FX5 is with the viewfinder, and the XLR handle 1 is for video. I'm not really sure what you're saying there. Yeah, so yeah, it's a crazy time right now. We'll ask Cam Mackie and Mark Bone the $1 million question: does Nikon got a near future response? Yeah, guys, sell out. Break your NDAs. Is Nikon dropping something new? Is Lumix dropping something new? Break your NDAs. Looks like Philip Bloom just dropped his video. Everybody's dropping their videos. I think I told y'all earlier, Kofi had dropped his video. The bigger screen, yeah, but did you notice the preview size itself and those side margins? That is a very Nikon. I'm not Nikon, sorry. That's a very Sony Cinema display. How do you rank camera ecosystem? How do you rank camera ecosystem? Camera system ecosystems. That's actually a good idea. Maybe I'm gonna think about this one. Maybe this will be one of the things we do on Friday. We'll rank camera ecosystems in how we think they actually perform. That'd be good. Yeah, give me some time to think about that one, because I don't want to just like off the cuff answer that question. Because I don't know. What we can do, if y'all are still cool and y'all still cool rocking it, we'll hang out for a little bit longer. We'll watch Kofi's video real quick, because that just dropped. Although I will tell y'all, Kofi's video is like 30 minutes, so we probably won't watch the entire thing. Sorry, Kofi, much love. But 30 minutes is a long video. But yeah, we can hop into Kofi's video. We can check that one out. And yeah, if y'all see any other big news on this camera, let me know. But I do want to give my boy Kofi some love and check out his video live if y'all are cool with that. Let me go ahead and get that pulled up. I wonder what Kofi's approach, because y'all know Kofi, I mean, now Kofi is a little bit more brand agnostic, but when Kofi first hopped on the scene, he was definitely the Sony guy. And more importantly, he was the FX6 guy. Kofi says, I made editing mistakes. I still haven't slept. It's been 36 hours. Kofi's going to make 38 videos? Yeah, probably. When he gets his camera. Preston says he's going to make 38 videos. Yeah, when the camera finally gets in his hands, like his, he'll probably make like 38 videos for sure. All right, let's hop into Kofi's video and check it out and see what he's cooking up for us. The slow vibe, especially after all these like fast-paced edits. I like this. This is a much slower vibe. Skin tones look good. Dynamic range is looking good.
We can't have a good embargo video without having a couple disclosures. For one, when people say, Sony, let me borrow this camera, no money exchanged hands, and I have to give the camera back, well, it means...
Today's episode is sponsored kind of nobody but Sony, I guess. All right, Kofi, let's hear what you got to say. You know I don't let sponsors just run on this deal.
Exactly that. Sony and other camera manufacturers understand the leverage of being able to make this video first before everybody else does, as a very small amount of people got access to the Sony FX5. Henceforth, they're probably not going to spend money on me making this video. A, they don't need to, and B, that would compromise my opinions on this guy. I will also say though, after the last 3 condos of asking for a lot of these features, not only am I going to get one, but I'm probably going to have nice things to say, because for the most of them I asked for. So there's that. So if me having this camera before you do is something that you don't like or is going to make you upset.
All right, first off, Kofi, stop setting all, look, I'm gonna just keep it 100 with you. You don't need to put all these dang disclosures. You got the camera early. You made the video. We obviously want to watch videos. That's why we clicked on the dang video. Don't feel like you got to make all these dang disclosures at the beginning of your video. All right? Nobody cares that these, that people, if you got a couple haters in your comments, forget them. Is that an FX5 and an FX3 side by side? Bro, I genuinely cannot tell the difference. I'm like, okay, I think the FX5 is the one on the right. That's crazy. I genuinely can't tell the difference. Okay.
Now we're going to go with our first impressions.
You literally can only tell when you see it like from the top down view.
Of the body here, and if the Sony FX5 looks a lot like the Sony FX3 with extra steps, well, it kind of is the FX3 with extra steps. We're going to start off with going with the screen because they have added a 1/2 inch, which is really important to some people.
Oh, this is perfect. This is the first video I've seen where they actually put them side by side. Okay, so we are actually getting a substantially larger screen. Thank you, Kofi.
People to the FX5 in order to give you more screen real estate. It's just as long as a screen like the Nikon ZR, but also it's more long ways than it is tall, which has a bit of a caveat to it, which we'll talk about a bit later, but I do appreciate having a larger screen. Now, in order to do that, and something that's different from the FX3 is I got rid of the little directional pad with the button on the back in order to make room for the extra screen while still keeping the camera the same size. Now, some of the other buttons are going to be a little bit different. There used to be a mode button to change things between S and Q or photo mode, which doesn't exist anymore, but it's made room for 2 different buttons that I think are important. For one, it's going to be the clips button. That way you can review playback, and also you can scrub by just scrolling now. It's a nice added feature there. And the other one is honestly the most important thing here is that you have a dedicated false color button. You heard that right. We have false color internal on a Sony FX line camera, and we didn't have to pay extra for it. This
Dang. See, look, other creators throw shots at Sony all the time. How come I can't get the camera because I throw shots?
It's going to help a lot in terms of your exposure, right? I talk about using false color quite a bit in a variety of different situations, and being able to have it internal to the camera without using a monitor, that's going to go a super long way for a lot of people that want to make sure they nail their images. In terms of the I/O, you're still going to get a full-size HDMI. You're actually going to get 2 USB-C ports, one for charging and one for accessories. And I heard from a little birdie, you might be able to run timecode from one of those 2 things, but either way, you're going to.
So that's a fact now. You will be able to run timecode, and they actually came out with a little cable that allows you to run timecode out of that USB-C. It's an accessory. I think it was less than $100 for the accessory cable, but you still got to pay for it.
Have multiple functions, having 2 USB-Cs instead of not having one at all or only having one. You're also going to get an Ethernet port into there, which
Kofi, take a nap, bro. What is this editing? What is this editing deal here? Come on, dog. Take a nap.
Having one. You're also going to get an Ethernet port into there, which.
Look, YouTubers don't make perfect videos, all right? We don't. All right? It is what it is.
I not needed it ever,
I love
but it's going to be super nice. I'm sure when you're running things directly into a truck or a van, or you want to connect to some sort of network when you're doing a live event. Now, Sony also introduced a couple of new accessories, and maybe one old one if you want to call it that. Now, Sony also introduced a couple of accessories.
Bro, Kofi, go into the YouTube editor and you can trim these out. I promise, because it looks like you can just easily knock these out, bro. Easily, you can knock these out. Knock these out in the YouTube editor.
I think a lot of people have been asking for, specifically myself, even though it's in a less than savory way. Now, there are 2 accessories that are new on the Sony FX5. Now, this guy does look the same as the older top handle. I mean, they made an adjustment. They put RA locating pin slots on the top handle itself, and as well as it enables you to shoot in the 32-bit float. The only caveat with that is that the only way to get 32-bit float on the FX5 is via this top handle. In fact, you have a bunch of 32-bit float modes that work on the camera when you go into the menus, but only one of them works regardless if you have a top handle or not, which is just like your regular 24-bit, 48 hertz.
You know what? You right in the chat. You right. It said LOL, bro needs some rest. We appreciate the content. Shout out to Kofi in the chat. W's in the chat for Kofi. We appreciate you not sleeping and giving us the content. You've already given us more value than some of the other creators have given us in their videos. You've given us more information. You showed us some stuff side by side. Shout out, W's in the chat for Kofi for me real quick. Because this man obviously needed to take a nap, but he didn't. He stayed up so the video could come out for us. So we appreciate you. W's in the chat for Kofi.
Sound that you can use if you have like a microphone, just like this DJI Mic 2, or you have another microphone you want to hook up onto the hot shoe or the cold shoe, not using one of these guys. Bright side, if you do use this top handle, you do get 2 XLR ports, sort of like the FX3 and the FX30 top handle. And as well as, most people don't know this, but if you go right into here, like there's a little input 3 that's onto here where you can just use a 3.5 millimeter jack microphone if you want to do that, and you could still shoot in 32-bit flow. You just have to use one of these guys. Now, that's nor here nor there. One thing I want to talk about, and this is because I complained about this quite a bit, is going to be the viewfinder. So I have an FX2 here. This is not my FX2. I never bought one. And I mentioned that this viewfinder placement doesn't make any sense, at least for me in shooting video. If I want to shoot video on like a shoulder rig, I have to like lean over to be able to see it on there. And I'll play a clip from the FX2 video that I made. This placement wasn't my favorite. In fact, I just kind of wanted it to be removable. I put up an Instagram reel last year and a lot of people saw it, and I said Sony had one job. And I'm going to show you on here. This. It's a removable viewfinder, and it's in the center of the camera, so I don't have to like lean over, go to one side. This is going to be the same or maybe better image quality from the FX2 viewfinder, but at least I could take this off. One thing that I don't like when camera companies come with cameras is you remove the choice. And also, when I put this kind of back on, I'll just kind of like half put it on there, it's also tiltable, so it's not fixed like a normal DSLR hybrid camera. I can do that. So if I want to move things around and use a viewfinder, I have the option to do that. Now, you can't use a top handle and the viewfinder at the same time, which is kind of a bummer. But again, I like the choice. That was my main complaint on this guy. And Sony had one job and they actually ended up doing it. Another thing that's going to be onto here that might be a bit of a learning curve is going to be the menus. Now, if you're someone who's used a Sony
All right, we talked about the menus earlier, so I'm going to kind of keep us moving through.
And also, I know there's a conversation around the 16-bit linear versus 12-bit log, whatever the case might be. But after having a conversation with Sony, one of the things that they're kind of making a comparable to is the same way that the 16-bit linear raw in, say, like a Raptor or a Komodo X, it functions the same way in XOCN on the Sony FX5.
Bro, what lens do you have on it for this shot? Kofi, I know you're in the chat. I need insight. What lens is this? Because this lens is hitting different. I'm not sure what lens this is, but the swirl on this lens is crazy.
The first in the lineup to actually be able to do this. Now, before you get your pitchforks out, yes, 2 things. 1, there are other cameras with internal RAW to them, the Nikon ZR, the Pixis 12K, the Lumix S1 II, and as well.
There's no way that's the 24G Master.
Is RAW just is objectively bigger file size on average. However, you do get 3 different versions of XOCN, which I don't know if it's actually happened before. You're going to get XOCN LT, which is very similar to the Sony Burano, the Sony Venice, and the Venice 2. But you're also going to get the ability to use C1 and C2. Now, these are going to be more compressed codecs onto here, which is going to shrink the bit.
Robot head is the Arcana 75, and then the white dress is Atlas Mercs.
Rate a little bit, but still give you a lot of control without a gigantic difference in terms of image quality. On this 480 gigabyte CF Express Type B card, at the highest version of this in LT, I get about 90 minutes on the card, which is actually, if you equate for the 1 terabyte, is twice as much as the Nikon ZR. And then when I go into see,
this is the problem. This is the problem that Nikon's about to have. They about to be taking they about to be getting sneak dissed in everybody's video because of this compressed RAW.
1, it'll give me about 115 minutes, which is just about 2 hours. And then when you want to go into C2, and again, I haven't noticed a gigantic quality drop off between LT and C2. You're looking at about just under 2.5 hours on a 480 gigabyte card.
Okay, so Kofi, you didn't have the text on this one, but I think you said about 2 hours on this one on C2. 115 minutes on C1, and then LT gets you 86 minutes on a what's the size of the card, Kofi? Help me fill in the gaps. Help me fill in the gaps on this one. Let me know. Throw it in the chat so that way I can add it in.
Card, which if it was 1 terabyte would be close to 5 hours. Now, I don't necessarily know the
5 hours on a 1 terabyte card in RAW? Holy crap.
Exact data rates for each one of these, but if my math is correct, or at least my memory serves me right, XOCN C2 in OpenGate 5K is about the same data rate.
Okay, so hold on. Let me go back real quick just so we can have the context here. So what Kofi is saying is that these measurements are on a 480 gig card. So in LT, you have 86 minutes. In C1, you're getting 115 minutes. And in C2, you get 144 minutes. And all these are on a 480 gig card. Appreciate your help, Kofi.
2.5 hours on a 400 that uses 420. Just keep that in mind for later. Also, oddly enough, and I don't recommend doing this, but I was able to pull it off, is you could write that XOCN RAW to a SD card. I actually wrote a whole day of XOCN LT, and I did it on one of these V90 Angelberg cards I got a few years ago, and it worked. It's not guaranteed media. I probably wouldn't recommend doing this for long shoots.
Wow.
But it does work. Usually.
That's crazy. I would have not thought that you'd be able to run the RAW to a V90 SD card. That is impressive.
Sony would stop you if they didn't have the proper cards. Now, in comparing this to other kind of RAW formats that are going to be on cameras, I'm only going to use two. One is going to be the Nikon ZR, and the other one is going to be the Pixis 12K, as I own both of those cameras. The S1 II using ProRes RAW is so big of a file that it almost doesn't make sense to make that comparable to. ProRes RAW objectively just is a lot of data, to be honest with you. On the Pixis, you have a variety of different compression ratios and resolutions, and when comparing one to the other, they both objectively look really good, which actually says a lot for the XOCN LT because it's a smaller resolution, it's a smaller camera, and one of the things that the FX5 does the Pixis doesn't is autofocus. Will have its own video with the Pixis and the FX5. They're same price, different camera. With the Nikon ZR on the flip side, though, keeping in mind the Nikon ZR is half as much as a Sony FX5. Still has a RAW format. However, the data rate on that RAW format is insanely high. Matter of fact, I did do a documentary on the Nikon ZR with a couple of Red cameras as well. And the Nikon ZR not only had the highest data rate because that R3D doesn't have a compression codec, even if you go to the Nikon version of the RAW, it's still bigger on average than it's going to be on the Sony FX5, which means that the data rates in terms of storage is going to be lesser when using the.
I told y'all, Nikon's just getting strays. They're just catching strays for no reason. They're not even in this video. I think, honestly, the reason why I think Nikon's going to catch so many strays is because, one, it's going to be natural to want to compare that camera to this. And I think the data rate on the FX5 is one of its number one selling features.
You actually might end up spending the same amount of money in hard drives with the camera at some later point in time, depending on.
Jeez, can Nikon get a break? Jeez, Kofi, you're talking about the FX5. Oh, well, I guess your title did bring all the brands into this. Okay,
it's a great format where you have full control over your image, and as well as in terms of the pantheon of cameras that shoot internal RAW, its data rate is actually some of the smallest. OpenGate, no debate. I forgot the third one, FX5. Now, I'm not going to say anything.
All right. Shout out to Kofi in the chat. This man clearly needs to take a nap. He says, sorry for the edit mistakes. Okay, I'm going to take a nap. Y'all enjoy. Real quick, before Kofi hops off, everybody in the chat, show Kofi some love. Show Kofi some love in the chat. Kofi, get some rest. We'll have you on the show on Friday. I'll have everything set up for us so that way I can have you guys in on Friday to talk more about the cameras. W Kofi's in the chat. Obviously, if you haven't already, hit the thumbs up button because it's creators like Kofi who are willing to drop videos to give us insights about the camera. If you also haven't, definitely go check out Kofi's video as well. Because I mean, I'm not even halfway through it, so I'm sure it's jam-packed with more information about audio and everything else. So definitely go check out the rest of his video. It's a long one. I'm gonna end up probably watching it back at like double speed later because that's how I consume longer videos on YouTube because time and I'm busy and life and whatever. But shout out to Kofi. Shout out to all the creators who made some dope stuff for us on this new camera today. Chat, let me know y'all's thoughts on the FX5. It's here. The rumor mill time is done. The rumor mill time is done. The actual camera is here. It is showing itself. The quality obviously speaks for itself. The images have been beautiful. The main question I have now that I need to go figure out, and I don't do this live, but I need to go figure out where does it sit in this market. I don't think that, like, this isn't like the FX2 where I was like disappointed in the actual like tech of the camera itself. I am excited about the tech of this camera. I just really want to see where it sits in the market. So we'll have that discussion on Friday. I'll be bringing on creators on Friday who actually have shot with the camera as well, who've had it in hand. I know a couple people who've had it and they're free to hop in on Friday. So that'll be fun. Been getting a couple text messages already from people who want to talk about the camera. So we'll definitely do that. Let me grab a couple points that y'all are making. This is your last chance. If there's any points that you think I need to take into consideration before Friday's show, go ahead and throw it in right now. APC Broadcasting said, Brandon, data needs to be the next frontier for creators and filmmakers. I dove into a 480 gigabyte times 3 for my Sony, along with 3 2 terabyte 2.5 SSDs for my Atomos external recorder. If I buy now, it's middle hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. No, thousands of dollars. That is the issue. Data rates are too high right now. And unfortunately, because of AI, they don't seem to be coming down. So yeah, we definitely need to see data rates be a big part. My biggest question is, what does the price mean for the FX3 Mark II? I am more concerned on if we're going to get an FX3 Mark II. Full transparency. But we can talk about more of that on Friday. I missed, does it have internal NDs? It does not have internal NDs. 32-bit audio with XLR top handle, $5,500. Why not internal? They greedy. So I don't really understand what's happening here, because the ZR has 32-bit internal audio, but Lumix, was it Lumix? Who just came out with a camera that has a top handle that gives 32-bit? Was it Lumix? I'm not sure. But a lot of camera companies are using the top handle. They're using the smart shoe in order to process that 32-bit internal. So I'm not really sure there. Kofi is right on point. Data is key. The ZR is not looking bueno. Yeah, I think data is going to be the big issue. Like, you know, last year we kind of argued over OpenGate. I think this year the argument is data rates. And it's either good or it's not. It's really going to be that simple. Comment coming in saying there will be no FX3 Mark II for the short term. I'm inclined to kind of agree with you there. I doubt will be an FX3 Mark II. Do the math. 3 plus 2 equals 5. Agreed. I bet they keep the FX3 Mark II with the older menus, photo capabilities, similar, smaller size, less codecs, but still open gate going forward would make sense. Maybe. I don't know. I think they're going to hold open gate for their cinema menus, honestly. But I thought that about Canon and I was wrong. So maybe I'll be wrong here too. Sony has a top handle with 32-bit float for the A7R6. Yeah, maybe that's the camera I was thinking about. Nikon should launch now a complete firmware update for the ZR, total eclipse of the heart for Sony. I agree. If anybody else has something they could drop today, do it now. Like, overshadow Sony right now. Otherwise, Sony's going to run the summer. FX3 can have the same sensor, but the new Bionic XR2 for better autofocus and faster UI. FX3 is done. Man, is that really how y'all feel? Brandon, you need to start working on that Nikon Pro list of demands. Demand our honor. We're struggling out here. Tell me about it, JP. I am struggling. I am fighting for my life. APC Broadcasting says it's the preamps you need for a truly good 32-bit float, you need dual preamps for both results. Curtis Judge can explain better in his audio. He's an audio engineer. Curtis is actually a really great channel. If you guys don't know what he's talking about, Curtis Judge has a great channel on, and he talks a lot about audio. Oh, what's up, Brian? Good to see you in here, brother. He says, really, really hoping they do an EVF external extension module or something like that. Bro, I 100% agree. I honestly, like the way that the FX5 looks, I feel like that wouldn't be too hard to do. Like, I would imagine Condor Blue or Bright Tangerine or somebody can build the mechanics, and then Sony just needs to be able to provide the cable. Something that screws in on both sides. So it's like mounted to the actual camera, and then the cable hard runs over to your EBF slot on your cage, and then you can actually hardwire that cable in. As long as it's bolted in, I think we'd be good. But yeah, I'm totally agree with you. Blackmagic really needs to fix their autofocus, and the game has changed. I don't know. I always thought Blackmagic needed better autofocus and they would take over, but it's getting way more competitive now. And then I think the photo capabilities of the ZR makes it extremely attractive for hybrid creators. The data rates that they committed to fixing around NAB. Yeah, committing to fixing something and actually doing it, two totally different things. I need it. I need the ZR to get those updates. Lumix needs to drop the S1H2, or sorry, the S1H2 now. Bro, I think everybody's on notice right now. But now it's like, what are you going to do? So, we'll have to wait and see. But, y'all, crazy day of releases. Shout out to all the creators whose videos we checked out today. We appreciate y'all. Also appreciate all those creators hanging out with us in the chat, giving us additional information. If you guys haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button on your way out, because, it helps grow the show. It helps bring more creators on. Also, set your calendars. Friday show still going to happen like normal, but we're going to bring on a couple additional creators for their hands-on experience, them talking about actually using the camera. So if you guys have any additional questions, be sure to throw those in the chat, throw those in the comment section if you're checking this out on the replay, so that way we can pull those for our Friday show, which is going to be a blast. Like, I can already tell. It's going to be a blast because we're going to have so many awesome creators here. But thank you guys so much for checking out this live stream, rocking with me today. It's been a blast, and I will catch you guys on Friday when Gerald is going to have to defend Canon in a world where an FX5 actually is real. All right, I'll see you guys next week. Or I'll see you guys on Friday. Peace.